হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ করে দিতে পারবে, শুরু হলে ইনাগুরালে ওরাই করে দিতে পারবে হোস্ট ওখান থেকে। হবে
ini ya screen share onde di per
Vabbè. Okay, nimejifungia huku na okay, nani hebu mfungulie.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hello.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay, welcome from Poland. I wish you the successful webinar, and I'll be waiting for my time. That's it.
Okay, thank you.
All dignitaries are requested to kindly unmute them and kindly keep them in mute mode to start our program.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hello,
হ্যাঁ,
please unmute.
Hello?
Please mute yourself.
ঠিক আছে?
With the kind permission of Chairperson Ma'am of this inaugural session and Principal Dr. Dipanita Chakraborty, we are going to start our inaugural session of the two-day international webinar on sustainable development prospects, and challenges across country analysis. Let me introduce myself. I am Dr. Dhruvacharan Hota, Associate Professor, Department of Commerce, Maharaja Bikram College, Agartala, India. A very good morning, good noon, and good evening to everyone present here. I take this privilege to warmly welcome to all our dignitaries, resource persons, delegates, and participants. On the first day of the international webinar on sustainable development, prospects and challenges across country analysis. When the invocation descends into heart, if there is darkness within, it illuminates it. And if there is already light, the invocation increases the light and intensifies it. So, purifying our mind and soul in this platform. Now, I do request Dr. Anindita Ray Bhattacharya to offer Saraswati Bandana as an invocation. Over to Anindita ma'am. Over to Anindita madam.
Good morning, sir. Hello. Good morning, sir. Hello. Sir, am I audible?
Anindita ma'am, please start. Anindita madam.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sir, am I audible?
Yes, you are audible. Please start.
Ya kundendu तुषार हार धवला या शुभ्र वस्त्रावृता या वीणा वरदण्ड मण्डितकरा या श्वेतपद्मासना या कुन्देन्दु तुषारहार धवला या शुभ्रवस्त्रावृता या वीणा वरदण्डमण्डितकरा या श्वेतपद्मासना या ब्रह्माच्युतशङ्कर प्रभृतिभिर्देवै सदा वन्दिता सा मां पातु सरस्वती सरस्वती भगवती निःशेषजाड्या
Thanks, madam, for your enchanting invocation. Now, I would like to request Dr. Bimal Kishore Acharya, Associate Professor and Head of the Department and Organizing Secretary of this international webinar, for your grand welcome. Over to Dr. B.K. Acharya.
Okay, Anand, as you rightly said, our biggest challenge in this new century is to take an idea that seems abstract sustainable development and turn it into reality for all the world's population. Namaste. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. It is spring in my heart, curiosity in mind, auspicious in soul. I, Dr. Bimal Kishore Acharya, Organizing Secretary of this international webinar, extend a sustainable and hearty welcome to all of you present in this virtual platform on my personal behalf and on behalf of Maharaja B. Vikram College, Agartala, Tripura, India. It is our proud privilege to have with us Honorable Union Minister of State for Animal Husbandry, Dairying and Fisheries and MSME with Pratap Chandra Sarangi. I greet him with all smile to our small and beautiful state, Tripura, of Ocean West, rich with sustainable natural resources. Thank you, sir, for your gracious presence. We are honored to get our mentor with all his positive mindset, Honorable Minister of Higher Education, School Education, Law, Sri Ratanlal Nath among us. I extend my warm and cordial welcome to Sri Ratanlal Nath. Thank you, sir, for your great time present. Always remain with us as a motivator, inspire our positive endeavor and response with a broad smile. He is none other than our chief patron, Reverend Director of Higher Education. It is captivating thoughts, the Saju Wahid age. I greet you with open arms, sir. India, Souls of Tripura, welcomes two of our learned and eminent research persons from Europe and Africa, Professor Anders Kessenberg, Director, Institute of Sustainable Development, Poland, and Mr. Donald Kibuti, Team Leader, Udra Bamboo and Briquetting Company Limited, Tanzania, East Africa. Maharaja Bir Vikram College, Agartala, Tripura, India, is also proud to have them as a resource person. I, on my own behalf and on behalf of our college, express my deep sense of gratitude to Professor Kessenberg and Mr. Kibuti. It is a proud privilege for us to greet the eminent research persons, academicians, scientists, scholars, and students from all over the globe who will certainly enrich and enhance our thoughts on the subject in the next few days. I would also like to take this opportunity to welcome all the fellow participants for making us enriched and enlightened. Last but not the least, I welcome all the media persons of different media houses associated with us on web. Now, let me welcome myself to the concept and objectives of the International Webinar on Sustainable Development, Prospects and Challenges, a cross-country analysis. After the Neolithic Revolution and Industrial Revolution, our future generation may try and cry for a sustainable revolution. Assuming the scenario of the future in our mind, we are assembling here to find a way out and united in this global platform for the existence of our future generation and for a fruitful outcome. In these 2 days of international webinar, we have arranged 3 technical sessions. In the first session, we have attempted to gratify the globe, that is how the European and African countries set their agenda out for sustainable development in the days to come. This will help us and guide us in a right way. Technical session 2 is dedicated to the national scenario of sustainable development, which is titled as Linking the Nation. The goal, agenda, program, and status of sustainable development in various states and in the nation as a whole will be the focal point of this session. The motto of the third session is Vocal for Local, which is meant to introduce our state and nation and its natural resources, uniquely handicapped products to the globe. It would be an active and interactive session with the local research persons having academic, research, and practical experience. The session would be devoted to discuss and highlight the scope of sustainable development, livelihood, employment generation, economic growth, with availability of local resources, skill, and talent. For example, bamboo, the green gold, can be implied as a sustainable asset of Tripura. After receiving bamboo bottles from our state Tripura, overwhelmed Rabina Tandonji tweeted, which is a book for promotion of bamboo products of Tripura. Let me quote Tandonji to our beloved Chief Minister, Mr. Biplab Kumar Dev. Finally, my order came in. Thank you for this wonderful green rehabilitation initiative taken up by the government of Tripura. Looking forward to more and more green sustainable initiatives. The concluding session is named as Grasping the Essence, where the productive outcome to be reported to the appropriate authorities for sustainable economic and ecological development. Once again, I express my deep sense of gratitude to one and all present in this virtual platform. Thank you all. Now over to Dr. D.C. Hosi.
Thank you, Dr. Acharji, for introducing and highlighting about the theme of this webinar. Now, I would like to request our young, energetic, and dynamic Director, Department of Higher Education, Government of Tripura, Sri Saju Y.A. to uh, to give remarks on our opening inaugural session to the participants. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Hota, for giving an opportunity. First of all, I would like to congratulate and wish all those authorities and organizers of MBB College for conducting this wonderful and beautiful seminar. We have with us Honorable Education Minister, Ratanlal Na, and also we have our chief guest, Honorable Minister of State, Government of India, and we are also having Mr. KJ Joseph and other eminent speakers in this particular webinar. Honorable and respected Principal MBB College and Organizing Secretary Shri Bimal Kishore and others. A warm good morning to all, and we have participants from across the country. A warm good morning to you too. So today we have taken up this particular webinar regarding sustainable development across India. So this is the time which we need to think about this particular topic, where the sustainable development is a major issue. We are going through a sustainable development goals, which is converted to Millennium Development Goals, MDG, which is converted now, and we are focusing and targeting to achieve MDGs now. And this is a particular situation, and it was in the previous report also, it was highlighted that in the coming years, the world will be facing very major drastic challenges like environmental changes, climate changes, and including epidemical issues. Now we are going through a particular situation where we are actually facing such kind of issues, especially in the climate scenario, and also we are facing the most important and most drastic epidemical issue, which is COVID-19, due to which our world is closed for last 6, 7, 8 months. And in addition to that, the climate change, impact of climate change, we are already facing in the southern part of our country, especially in Kerala and all, where we are seeing repeated number of floods occurring every year. And it is not just restricted to Kerala, it is also happening in the other places of the country, especially in Maharashtra, Karnataka, and all these places are facing huge amount of flood activities. And we have also faced the similar kind of issues in Assam. So it is a high time that we have to think about this particular issue, where we need to discuss the impact and also the reduction mitigation measures and the disaster management activities which need to be taken up in this particular situation, and also to change our lifestyle and change our pattern and change our way of thinking in dealing with environmental pollution and other things. One thing I would like to highlight, or which I used to do in every meeting regarding this environmental issue, is that whenever we talk about environmental pollution, we consider that we as a citizen, we as a human being, we are polluting the nature, we are polluting the mother earth, we are disturbing mother earth. Actually, it is not, it should not be conceived in such a way. It should be conceived in that way that we are not doing any harm to the earth, but we are doing harm to ourselves. If the temperature of the earth increases up to 32 degrees, 40 degrees, 50 degrees Celsius, it does not affect the planet as such, but it definitely going to affect human being to stay in this particular planet. So we don't consider this as a crime we are doing to the earth, but it is actually a crime we are doing to the future generations. Maybe we are the future generation which are going to affect this particular situation. So we should consider in such a way that the impact, it is not on earth, but it is the impact on us. It is not the impact on the environment, it is the impact on us or our life, and which we are seeing, or our houses, our stay, our localities, everywhere we are seeing that particular situation, be it epidemics, be it communicable diseases, be it environmental issues. Having a tsunami does not affect the earth, but it is affecting us. So with this into point, taking into this consideration, we should think in a different way, where the sustainable developmental issues and the environmental pollution and environmental developmental issue and environmental conservation should be taken care. With this few words, I'd like to conclude my speech, and I would extend my sincere thanks and gratitude for all the esteemed guests who have joined us in this particular webinar, and also the participants who have taken part in this particular international webinar. And once again, thanks to the authorities to taking steps for conducting this level of webinar from Tripura. Thank you so much, Dhruva, and over to you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your opening remarks. You are our mentor and have always been a source of inspiration and motivation for all of us for organizing such kind of webinar, seminar, symposium, etc. Thank you, sir, very much once again. Thank you, sir. Today, we have with us our Honorable Minister of Higher Education, School Education, Law, Government of Tripura as our guest of honor. I would take the privilege to request our Honorable Minister, Sri Ratan Lal Nath, to kindly address our resource persons, our delegates, participants of the webinar. Over to you, sir. Sir, please start your deliberation.
Okay. Namaskar. International webinar on sustainable development, prospects and challenges, a cross-country analysis organized by Department of Commerce, Maharaja Bir Bikram College, Agartala, Tripura, India. Chairperson of the international webinar and Principal MBB College. I am very much delighted and pleased to extend deepest thanks and warm wishes on my own behalf and on behalf of the Government of Tripura to Honorable Minister of State for MSME, Sri Pratap Chandra Sarangi ji, for blessing the webinar with his virtual presence. Distinguished delegates, resource persons from abroad in India, dear participants, members of organizing committee, faculties, and other staff of the college. At the very outset of my speech, I would like privilege to congratulate the authority of MBB College and especially the Department of Commerce for conceptualizing the initiative to organize an international webinar on a very relevant topic on sustainable development, aspects and challenges, a cross-country analysis. The origin of the concept of sustainable development received its first major recognition in 1972 at UN Conference on Human Environment held in Stockholm. The said conference resolved that both development and environment should be addressed as separate issues, and it could be managed in a mutually beneficial way. After a gap of 15 years in 1987, the World Commission on Environment and Development, known as the Brundtland Commission, submitted their report by way of giving a classic definition of the term sustainable development. And it has been defined as development which meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generation to meet their own needs. Here one great quotation of our father of the nation, Mahatma Gandhi, can be recalled. Art provides enough to satisfy every man's needs, but not every man's greed. The Brundtland Commission discussed in detail about the problems of environmental degradation. Thereafter, in 1992, the United Nations Conference on Environment and Development held in Rio de Janeiro. The summit marked the first international attempt to draw action plans and strategies for moving towards a more sustainable pattern of development. Then, in the year 2002, the World Summit on Sustainable Development was held in Johannesburg, attended by 191 national governments, UN agencies, multilateral financial institutions, and other major groups to assess progress since Rio. The Johannesburg Summit delivered 3 key outcomes. 1, a political declaration. 2, plan of implementation. And 3, a range of partnership initiatives. The key commitments included sustainable development, consumption and production, water, sanitation, and energy. The latest summit known as Sustainable Development 25th September 2019 at New York, USA. It was the high-level political forum on sustainable development under auspices of the General Assembly, accelerating the implementation of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. The prime objective was to follow up and comprehensively review progress in the implementation of 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. The event was the first UN summit on the sustainable disease since the adoption of 2030 Agenda in September 2015. Keeping in line with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, global perspective of sustainable development, our government in Tripura, under the leadership of Sri Biplab Kumar Dev, Minister, has formulated Vision 2030 Tripura. The document is based on the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, excluding SDG 14, that were adopted by the United Nations General Assembly in 2015, and of critical importance of humanity and planet for ensuring no one is left behind. We are committed to promote sustainable and inclusive economic growth and social development along with the environmental protection. Our government is also committed to deliver long-term benefits to the people, including women, children, youth, and future generation. We are putting much emphasis and efforts to narrow the equity gaps. We have been pressing hard at our level for the active participation of central government and state government departments, engagement of private sector, civil society organization, professional institutions and bodies, academia and community as well. In this direction, the state government is accelerating efforts to improve the access to all people living in hilly and less developed areas, ensure equitable access to the services. I strongly believe that our development strategies and programs will adequately address the state's priorities and to be aligned with the sustainable development goals in future. Tripura is blessed with its rich natural resources like gas, forest products, agricultural products, etc., which will enable Tripura a successful field for sustainable development. I hope this webinar will come out as a productive outcome, which will help our state in growth process of sustainable development. Thanks, everybody. Namaskar.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your words of wisdom. Actually, you have started from the history of sustainable development since 1972 to till date. In accordance with the 17 Sustainable Development Goals set up by United Nations, what your government is doing to improve the sustainable development initiatives in our state. You have pointed out that your government is committed to provide all sort of facilities as enshrined in the Sustainable Development Goals in the United Nations Assembly to the general public and also the society. Hope we would go ahead with your able leadership and your vision, sir. Thank you once again. It is a proud privilege for us to welcome our Honorable Chief Guest, Sri Pratap Chandra Sarangi, Honorable Minister of State for Animal Husbandry, Dairying and Fisheries, and also Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises, Government of India. We heartily welcome, sir, to our international webinar on sustainable development, prospects and challenges, a cross-country analysis. From the land of Tripura, from the land of Northeast, we welcome you, sir, to our international webinar, and we like to hear few words from your side, sir. Over to you, Pratap Chandra Sarangi, sir. Thank you, sir. Sarangi sir has already joined. He will be joining within a minute or two. Please stay with us.
He will join at 12:40. Manager.
Respected delegates, I would like to announce that Pratap Chandra Sarangi has communicated us that he will be joining within a minute or two. So we'll have to wait 1 or 2 minutes.
He's vibrant. Like vibrant.
Actually, the scheduled time was 12:40. We are ahead in our schedule, which seldom happens in any webinar or any seminar. So it's a good message. So he will be joining on 12:40 only. And before that, I would like to say something on this sustainable development. Our previous speaker, Sri Ratanlal Nathji, has clearly defined as per the Brundtland Commission what is development, what is sustainable development. Development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs.
Namaskar.
Yes, sir, please. Sir, over to you. You can start now, sir.
Myself.
Yes, sir.
Namaskar. I congratulate you all and offer my heartfelt thanks for having invited me to this platform through webinar, where my exchange of ideas. It's a very interesting theme, sustainable development. Earlier, everybody was talking of development. Sometimes the development is not understood because we cut 1 million trees and we said that we produce so much of timbers and wood, and we cut 5 lakh animals. Then we said that we produced so much of meat. This was a very dangerous method of calculating development, because Mahatma Gandhi once told that nature is everything to satisfy every man's need, but the whole treasure house of nature may be insufficient for a single man's greed. During the time of Green Revolution, over application of chemicals in our fields resulted in the total destruction of our soil, our atmosphere, our ecology. Also, our food, our crops were so full of poisons that even the mothers became full of DDT and other poisonous elements, creating more health hazards. And we set a goal before all the states of the country, that Punjab is the ideal, which uses more chemicals in the field through pesticides, through manures and all that. So that is the ideal to be followed. But tragically, Punjab is the most cancerous state, having the highest number of cancer patients, and a train is running in the name of cancer train. So that is the disastrous result of over-application of chemicals. Because mercilessly we killed nature, we killed the biodiversity of this nature. Now Corona has taught us what really means by the sustainable development. This word came into existence, came into use much earlier, but this sustainable development is properly understood during this Corona period. Nature is dancing with joy. In Delhi, peacocks are running, dancing in the street, and elephants are taking a bath also. The pollution has come down. So this is the result of Corona, because man has been imprisoned. So it is proved that man is the biggest killer of this biodiversity, of this natural beauty, and the entire beauty of nature starts manifesting itself, because humans are under pressure. So now we can see that lions, tigers, elephants, snakes are not the killer of nature, killer of biodiversity. It is the greatest creation of God, man, who is the killer of biodiversity. So now what to do? Man has to be really trained for this biodiversity, because earlier man thought that he is supreme and he can do or undo anything. Everything is meant for his pleasure only. So there was a serious disaster in this biodiversity. Now man has to be re-educated, reoriented, and this is the basic teaching of Corona. We produce power through thermal plants, but again polluting our nature, our biodiversity. Thousands of species of plants and animals have disappeared from the face of the earth. Many herbal plants, many Ayurvedic plants have been non-existent during these days. So what is the real growth? We say sustainable development, or Swami Vivekananda used to say, the first visible sign of life is growth. But all growth do not aid beauty to life. Suppose we are moving in a train. We saw a long-nosed girl. We cannot say, oh sister, you are so healthy, your neck is so long. We can exercise mercy that this is a disease and we can give her some rupees. We saw a filaria patient. We cannot say, oh brother, your leg is very fatty, very healthy. No, this is a disease. You can exercise mercy on him. But so now what is development? What is growth? Growth is a sustainable growth. It's a harmonious growth. Is the real sign of life. So if you have develop a tumor or a cancerous growth of any organ of your body, you cannot be told a very healthy man. So a harmonious growth, a balanced growth of the body, mind and spirit is called sustainable growth. A complete growth, that is a harmonious growth. So what is harmonious growth? We still have to look into that. So we differ from Western thinking on 4 cardinal points. Why this type of unreasonable, irresponsible behavior towards nature and humans have become a reality? Because somebody told me that poverty is the best pollution, post pollution. No, I don't agree. In India, the thing is not like that. Because who is responsible for the global pollution? Whether the poor countries or the rich countries. The richest countries are the biggest creator of pollution. America having 3-4% of the total global pollution, global population, exploits more than 40-50% of natural resources of the world and wants to exploit the entire resource of the world. So who is responsible? Who is responsible for this greenhouse gas and all that? So these carbon problems or whatever other problems are there, the richest countries are responsible because they do not have a responsible thinking towards this humanity. We are having many wise people, many big scientists, many philosophers, many rich people, many powerful people, but responsible citizens, responsible humans are very rare in India and in the whole world also. So we shall have to think on this line. So what is the way out? We shall have to process this human energy, this human resource. There are 2 types of energy in the whole creation. One is crude energy. Crude energy is what? Coal, petroleum and all that. So raw coal is useless, but you pass it through processing technology, then many useful things will come out. Alcatara, saccharine, and in the last, radium. It is unbelievable that radium, and here also is being produced from coal in a natural process through millions of years. The diamond and radium are products of coal is unbelievable, but it's a fact. Similarly, we put less emphasis on the processing of human energy. And education is nothing but processing of human energy. Why the world has become so dangerous? some of the scientists are searching for the principle of life in planet Mars. Why? Because they fear that this world may be finished within 400 years due to pollution. The plastic pollution is so dangerous that in our water bottles, in our salt, microparticles of plastics are available, creating serious health hazard to us. And the load of the entire plastic will be doubled by 2022. The scientists warn us, and they say, some of them say that the world may be burned to ashes within 400 years. So it is not possible to lift these 1,000 crores of people to planet Mars. But some of the scientists probably thought that they can take their own families at least and stay there. But my own I want to say that please find out the principle of life here, how there can be sustainable living here, how there can be sustainable development here in this planet Earth, instead of running away to Mars. मंगल ग्रह में मंगल की संधान करने वाले वैज्ञानिकों को मेरा निवेदन है, इस विश्व में मानव जीवन में मंगल का संधान करो, मनुष्य का राक्षसी वृत्ति का नियंत्रण करो और कैसा इस दुनिया को वास योग्य बनाए रखा जाए इसका व्यवस्था करो. आज हमारे सामने यह चुनौती है. And we differ from these Western thinking on 4 different points, cardinal points. Number 1 is the Western thinking started with these 4 different points. That is, struggle for existence. Charles Darwin, in his book Origin of Species, he wrote that there is always struggle for existence and the inevitable result is survival of the fittest. Everywhere there is struggle, struggle and struggle. And in this violent struggle, only the powerful, the strongest will survive and the weakest will be finished. That means the entire biodiversity will be lost. But in our tradition, we believe that although apparently there is struggle visible, but in the bottom, there is always harmony, perfect harmony. We should not break this chain of harmony. We depend on plant for our survival, as plant discharge oxygen and we consume it for our survival. Plants need carbon dioxide and we discharge carbon dioxide. So our life is interconnected. We are not different from the whole world. We are part of the entire creation. And we are very much indivisible unit of this entire creation. Man is a part of the society. Man is a part of the family. Family is a part of the society. Society is a part of the nation. Nation is a part of the world. And world is a part of this universe. And the universe is a part of Prakriti, nature. And Prakriti is the shadow of Brahman. From the lowest atom to the highest Brahman, all are interconnected. Why a man should be moral? A man should be moral not because we are sons and daughters of gods and goddesses and we are brothers and sisters. A man should be moral because I and you are one. The whole universe is one entity. And I cannot hurt anybody else without hurting myself because you and I are one. I remember one great physicist, a Nobel laureate in physics, an American scientist, Dr. John Hobson, who wrote in a book, it was Swami Vivekananda who has thrown a challenge to modern science when he asked, can you equate matter and energy? And the challenge was answered by Albert Einstein when he discovered theory of relativity after the 3 years of his passing away. Swami Vivekananda, while teaching Sankhya and Vedanta in 1893 in America, he asked a question to the great scientists of America, have you discovered unity? Your knowledge is incomplete because you could not discover unity. And the goal of every knowledge is to discover this unity. Unifying human experience, you could not do that. Your entire dissolution process altered on 2 points, that is energy and mass, you could not proceed further. But he explained very logically, very scientifically, very critically, how Indian sages ages ago discovered the unity, the unification of human experience through cosmic intelligence. Then he proceeded further to Brahman, from the lowest atom to the highest Brahman. He connected with the arguments, the very logical argument. So, Einstein discovered this theory of relativity is equal to mc square after Swamiji's passing away. So that's why my point is that we are one. That is the basis of all morality, all ethical codes. I cannot hurt others without hurting myself. So I and you are one. Number two is the survival of the weakest. All our laws are made for the protection of the weak, not for the protection of the strength. So in these 2 points we differ. The second part, the third and fourth point is industrial revolution, Audyogik Kranti, exploitation of nature. Basic element behind this is exploitation of nature. We had also technology thousands of years back, when even they did not have a school. We had great university, world-class universities like Nalanda, Takshashila, Ujjaini, Kurukshetra and all that. We had our own technology, but that was eco-friendly technology. We were very compassionate, very respectful towards this nature, because our forefathers knew that man is not different from nature. Man cannot live without nature. Man cannot kill nature and survive. So their technology was eco-friendly, live in tune with nature. So you cannot exploit nature. You have to feed nature, because you take everything from nature. You take trees, you take fruits from the trees, medicines from the plants, water from the river, and air from the entire atmosphere. Everything we need that is given by nature. So we shall have to feed and nurture nature. So we call Prakriti Mata, nature is our mother. We have a respectful attitude towards the nature. So we don't have any right to pollute nature. So that sort of attitude should be developed from our very primary education. It was given, this sort of knowledge was imparted by our mothers, by our teachers. Now the entire chain being disturbed, we don't have that knowledge. So we become very cruel and we kill the nature mercilessly, kill the biodiversity. Very cruel. And that's why this disastrous result. So many health hazards. And due to this pollution, the entire atmosphere has become inhabitable. So we need a very comprehensive knowledge which will integrate the entire existence, humans, animals, plants, and inanimate objects. The entire creation is one. A particular wave of this matter, this ocean of matter, creates a mountain. Another wave creates a physical frame of a man. Another wave creates a river. Another wave creates a building. So we should now understand that this entire creation is one and one individual existence. Then the fourth point is individual rights. Here we also differ. Individual rights, they fight for the rights and liberties. But we put much emphasis in our tradition on individual duties. By the performance of the duty of a student, the teacher's rights are protected. And by the performance of the duty of a teacher, the student's right is protected. If a husband performs his duty towards his wife, the wife's right is protected. And if the wife performs his duty towards her husband, husband's right is protected. And similarly, by the performance of the son's duty, the father and mother's rights are protected, and the father and mother, the parents perform their duty properly. So the sons and daughters' rights are protected. And if a citizen performs his duty properly, the nation's right is protected. And if the state, the nation performs duties properly, then the citizens' rights are protected. We are all interconnected. By performance of duty, we can protect the rights of everybody else. Your hand is a freedom, your fist is a freedom, but your freedom ceases where my nose begins. Live and let live. That was the ideal before us. So that is the basic principle of sustainable development. In the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, in the 17th chapter, I remember a very beautiful narration is made by Bhagavan Sri Krishna. Every man is indebted to three aspects, three elements. Number one is our physical body. This mortal physical body gives us everything. We can talk, we can see, we can learn, we can listen, we can work, we can take food, we can study through this body. So we consume our energy. Now we shall have to repay the loan. We shall have to fill up the gap. For a sustainable development, we need some repayment so that the energy will sustain. So we shall have to sleep. Unless we sleep and work for 24 hours, 50 hours, then we may die. We may be under the influence of diseases, serious diseases. So we still have to sleep. We still have to take food, and we still have to perform some austerities. That is called tapasya for the completeness of this world. Then we take loans from our mother's home, from this society. Everybody performs their duty to make my life comfortable. I have not made this shot. I have not made this TV. I have not made this table. I have not made the schools. I have not made the colleges. I have not prepared the library. Society prepared all these things for my comfort, for my living. So I shall have to repay the loan. How? I shall have to repay the loan through dhanam. Taking whatever is necessary for my own living, I shall have to donate for these poor and the social activities. Otherwise, I shall be considered a thief. Swami Vivekananda was saying, I hold every man a traitor who, having been educated at their expense, does not pay any heed to them. दरिद्र करदाताओं के पैसा से पाठ पढ़ करके जीवन में प्रतिष्ठित होने के बाद जो दरिद्र के लिए सोचता नहीं, उनको मैं बेईमान मानता हूं, विश्वासघातक मानता हूं. The third element is this srishti, creation, the nature. We take everything from the nature. Our food, our clothing, our medicine, our comfort, everything we need that comes from the nature. We shall have to pay its debt. How? Through yajna. We cannot cut living trees. Only dead trees we have to cut. And we shall have to perform yajna so that more oxygen is produced. We shall have to plant new trees. That is also yajna. Doing something unselfishly is yajna. Pouring ghee and everything else to the fire is yajna, stula yajna. But if you tuition without any remuneration to poor students, that is yajna. If you plant trees, that is yajna. You perform a medical camp or a blood donation camp selflessly, that is yajna. Whatever is done selflessly is yajna. So these three elements, Sarira, Srishti and Samaj, and if we want to repay the loan, we have to take the help of yajna, dana, tapah, kriya. Yajna for Srishti, dana for society, and tapasya for our own body. So thus we shall have to develop a sense of reverence, respect and honor towards this nature, and how to develop this human life through a sustainable development of all these elements is the challenge, main challenge of this. So far as protection of energy, power is concerned, we shall have to think of a more sustainable method. We can do it through thermal plants, but that will again create danger to the nature. So we can do it through hydroelectrical projects, through solar plants. That is the best alternative. And sun god is very merciful. He has given us enough treasure. In this immense treasure house is available, infinite source of energy with us. So we shall have to create more solar plants to develop this. And emphasizing that the Green Skill Development Program, GSDP, will go a long way in reaping the demographic dividend in the country. Our Union Minister for Environment, Forest and Climate Change, the then Minister, Dr. Harshavardhan, has said that the GSDP aims to get 80,000 people imparted green skills and in filling the skill gaps in the environment sector. 80,000 people will be trained and they will develop this, foster this attitude. But we did not succeed in infusing the idea of sustainable development among the intellectuals of our country and of the world. And we are not very much concerned till now about the danger that is being created by this solution. So we shall have to develop, we shall have to nurture this quality from our very boyhood. From the primary education, it should be in the academic curriculum. Simply inclusion of this in the academic curriculum is not enough. Unless such a habit, such a character trait is not developed within a human being, it's not possible. we shall have to put much emphasis on the training of our human resource. Because the entire civilization is made by our human resource, and man cannot be inferior to machine, man is superior to machine. Man is the maker of the machine, the governor of the machine. So whatever may be the machines, man is to be given more importance. This human element, science cannot change a dishonest man into an honest one. विज्ञान के द्वारा बेईमान को हम ईमानदार नहीं बना सकते हैं, देशद्रोही को देशभक्त नहीं बना सकते हैं, भ्रष्टाचारी को सदाचारी नहीं बना सकते हैं. We have seen how many scientists have been instrumental in destroying the world. We have seen how many learned people are responsible for the destruction of the entire nature, natural beauty. So we shall have to develop a sense of culture, this loving temperament for this nature, this reverence for nature from our childhood, and we have to nourish this nature. Each drop of water is to be counted, is to be saved. We cannot allow all the water to go to flow to the ocean, and then we can expect a green India. So we shall have to store water, we shall have to store every source of nature, and we shall have to develop this sort of integrated and comprehensive model. I remember Sri Ravi Shankar tells that we need a disease-free body, we need a stress-free mind, we need an intellectual free from prejudice, intellect free from prejudice, and we are seriously requiring a society free from violence and exploitation. And we need a pollution-free atmosphere. And for this is the, I think this is the biggest model of sustainable development. And if we really need this sort of sustainable development, then we should have to train our human resource from the very childhood, from our primary level. Then only we can expect a tangible, a visible result, and that will be a very beautiful world where everybody will be friends, everybody mutually loving each other, not only man, but also inanimate objects, animals, plants. We shall have to develop this sort of loving bond. Then only we can expect a purely sustainable development and developed world. With this I conclude.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Sure.
Your virtual presence has really glorified our international work. You have spoken in a different perspective, starting from over application of chemicals in field, their harmful effects, and you have already told that man is the biggest killer. At the same time, you have also pointed out, sir, that the richest country are the biggest polluters. Sir, you have also you are of the opinion that men should be moral. Actually, what we are doing right now. Over the past decades, we are concentrating ourselves on economic growth, exploiting the natural resources of the country in a bad way at the expense of the environment. Our natural resources should have been used in a way that are environmentally inefficient, wasteful, and with dangerous consequences. Starting from the spirituality and reality to the term of Sarira, Srishti, and Samaj, you have rightly pointed out these things. At the same time, sir, you have also extensively discussed how we should use our environment, the natural resources, in a harmonious way for a balanced growth, taking into consideration the concept of body, mind, and spirit together simultaneously for the development of our body, mind, and spirit. We are really glad, we are really privileged, we are really, we are really overwhelmed with your extensive lecture, and you have enlightened us with your lecture. Not only enlightened, you illuminated us and enriched us in our knowledge, and you have also suggested some directions toward the scientist. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your presence. We are really grateful and obliged to you for your virtual presence. Thank you and namaskar, sir. Dear delegates, participants, and resource persons, we are on the verge of this uh, inaugural, at the end of the inaugural session. Now, may I request our chairperson of this inaugural section, Dr. Dipandita Chakravarti, Madam, please address the participants and resource persons through your presidential or chairperson address. Over to me.
Namaskar and a very good day to all of you. Respected Sri Pratap Chandra Sarangiji, Honorable Minister of State for Animal Husbandry, Dairies, Fisheries and Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises, Government of India, our chief guest in this webinar, respected Sri Pratilal Nath, Honorable Minister for Education, Higher School, Law, Government of Tripura, our guest of honor, respected Saju Wahid A. IAS, Director, Department of Higher Education, Government of Tripura, respected resource persons in this webinar from India and abroad, Organizing Secretary, Dr. B.K. Acharya, Head, Department of Commerce, Maharaja Bir Bikram College, faculty members, participants from across the country, my dear students. On behalf of Maharaja Bir Bikram College, Agartala, Tripura, I take this opportunity to welcome you all to this 2-day-long international webinar organized by the Department of Commerce, MBB College. I would like to inform you that this is the 5th webinar being hosted by the college on virtual platform. As of now, listening to the speeches delivered by our honorable chief guest, our guest of honor, we all are quite familiar with the two words sustainable development at present, which, if simply put, means satisfying the needs of the present generation without causing jeopardy for the future generation. Though this concept was initially harped in the 1970s, and also in his report, Brundtland, in his report, Our Common Future, has spoken about this. This is not a new concept. Several civilizations over the course of human history have realized the need for maintaining a harmony between environment, society, polity, and economy. Rapid industrialization, urbanization has had alarming consequences for global environment, which may be termed as crisis of modernity. In the Rio Earth Summit of 1992, this concept gained much prominence. Challenges like climate change, water scarcity, inequality, hunger was surfacing. Steps had to be taken globally to resolve this crisis of sustainability. A stable relationship between human activities and nature has to be established. Every human being has the right to a healthy, clean environment, a good standard of living, better employment. Countries across the whole world has to come together towards sustainability, reduce pollution, eradicate poverty, generate employment opportunities. A roadmap has been approved by the United Nations 2030 Agenda containing the Sustainable Development Goals, or as we say, SDGs. It is a call to protect the planet and guarantee well-being of all people around the world. Present world situation arising out of the pandemic COVID-19 was prioritized safe living as well as sustainable development for a safe future. We are compelled to think how to manage nature and its resources optimally and differently. Any country's sustainability progress depends upon action within and also is affected by interactions with countries separated miles away. This calls for increased international collaboration and solidarity to support each other while ensuring that post COVID 19 sustainability encompasses healthy living for all. In this backdrop, this webinar was proposed and planned. My heartfelt gratitude to our chief guest, Honorable Minister of State, Government of India, Sarangi for accepting our invitation so graciously. We are enthralled by your deliberations, sir. It was such an informative one and all comprehensive and such thought provoking. Thank you on behalf of the college, and I personally thank you, sir. Thank you so much. We are grateful to our guest of honor, Honorable Minister, Government of Tripura, whose guidance and dynamic leadership is always a source of inspiration for all of us. We are enriched by your knowledgeable speech. Thank you, sir, for enlightening us on the relevant subject and also relating it with our state's endeavors in this matter. Thank you, sir. Our chief patron, our director of higher education, is always a strong support, a motivator in our academic ventures. Thank you, sir, for your encouraging words. I'm sure the deliberations of our learned resource persons from across the globe will surely reveal the way to progress and promote sustainable development. With these words, we conclude the inaugural sessions and look forward to the keynote address to be delivered by Professor K.J. Joseph, Director, Gulati Institute of Finance and Taxation, Thiruvananthapuram, India. Thank you. Thank you all once again. Over to you, Dhruvo, now.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would like to have a PowerPoint to be shared. Please allow me to share my screen.
Okay, sir. After your introduction of his profile, then we'll do that.
Thank you.
Thank you, madam. We come to the end of our inaugural session. It was really an exciting, learning and thrilling experience. Hearing from such learned persons across India. So, without any further delay, we would move to our technical part of our international competition. It would start with the keynote address by our keynote speaker, Professor K.J. Joseph, the former director, Center for Development Studies, Jawaharlal Nehru University. Presently, Professor K.J. Joseph is working as director of Gulati Institute of Finance and Taxation. Now, I would like to request my colleague, Sri Gautam Bhattacharya, Associate Professor, Department of Commerce, Maharaja B. P. Vikram College, Agartala, India, to please introduce Professor K.J. Joseph to our delegates, resource persons, and participants. Over to Dr. Bhattacharya, sir.
Good afternoon to all. Professor K.J. Joseph, at present, Director of Gulati Institute of Finance and Taxation, Thiruvananthapuram, has many feathers in his credits. Gold medalist of Calicut University, Gold medalist of Calicut University for MA in Economics. He earned MPhil and PhD degree from Jawaharlal Nehru University and undertook postdoctoral research at Yale University as a Ford Foundation Fellow. His area of expertise include science, technology, and innovation for development with focus on information technology, industry studies, FDI, globalization, and World Trade Organization. Apart from over 80 research papers and a number of policy-oriented reports, he has 6 books published by 5 leading international publishers. Earlier positions that he held include Ministry of Commerce Chair Professor and former Director of Center for Development Studies in Jawaharlal Nehru University. He was IT Policy Consultant of United Nations Economic and Social Commission for Asia and Pacific region. He has also been a consultant of United Nations Conference on Trade and Development and many more positions. He himself is an institution in his area. We are fortunate enough to find him with us and welcome Professor K.J. Joseph sir to deliver keynote address. So now it is over to you, sir. Thanks again.
Thank you, Dr. Gautam Bhattacharya, for the kind words. Honorable Minister Sri Pratap Chandra Sarangiji, Honorable Minister Sri Ratanlal Nathji, Sri Saju Wahid IAS, Dr. Bimal Kishore Acharya, Dr. Dibanita Chakrabarti, my friends from the BB College, friends and ladies and gentlemen who have longed in for this webinar, and most importantly, my beloved students. First of all, I feel extremely happy and privileged to be with you on this important webinar. And I take this occasion to salute the college authorities for facilitating this topic. And I congratulate the webinar organizers for the selection of the issue for deliberation, which could not have been more appropriate than today than ever before. And I must also appreciate all those who have logged in to participate in this deliberation. And it is a pity that as a teacher, I love talking at the eyes of my students. Even if they don't respond, I will be able to know when to stop when I look at their faces. Here I am handicapped. I cannot see any of you. So I have a problem, in fact. I don't know where to stop, when to stop. A speaker always gets his energy from the face of the audience. So what I may do is I am allotted something like 40 minutes. I will try to be within that minutes. The host is able. I will try to be within the time limit. But you know that I'm supposedly an economist. And economists in the country never been able to keep to the target. So please bear with me if I exceed. And if I hear, it's a lunchtime, I know you must be feeling hungry. I'll try to be within 30 minutes to 40 minutes. So with this, I would like to, could you please facilitate my sharing of my PowerPoint, please? I'm not able to share it. From the control room, I'm requesting you to facilitate my, the host has disabled. Hello? Hello?
Yes, sir, you can go share screen.
I'm not able to because it says that the host disabled the participant screen sharing. You are now you are doing it. Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, we are doing it. Yeah, fine. Okay, friends. I think I must also say that we had such enlightening introductory the speeches from the chief guest, guest of honor, and chief patron. And you have lined up such a wonderful list of eminent speakers. After seeing all this, I in fact thought I should have been here to hear rather than speak. And my earlier speakers have actually enlightened us on a very important aspect of sustainable development, which I would call it rather environmental sustainability. To my mind, sustainable development could be seen from two perspectives. One is ecological or environmental sustainability, and second one is socio-economic sustainability. These are in fact twin brothers. I don't want to dwell much into the ecological sustainability, but I would like to just say that in this world, there is no country like India which has shown so much commitment to the cause of ecological sustainability, right from following the words of the father of our nation, which is already quoted by previous speakers. And my dear friends, you should remember that in 1972, the first Stockholm meeting, there were only two national leaders participating in that meeting. The first one was indeed the Prime Minister of Sweden. And the second one was none other than the Prime Minister of India, Srimati Indira Gandhi. And the lecture that she has delivered that was really inspiring. And I must also say that there is no country in the world like India on whom sustainable development is a key or rather most important concern, because there is no country in the world like India, which has got something like 4,000 miles of sea coastline. And if this water level in the sea rises, the gravest damage will be on India rather than any other country. And there is no country in the world wherein almost 50% of the population lives on agriculture, and much of them depend on rain-fed agriculture. And if your environment leads to climate change and rain pattern, the livelihood of there is no country on which the livelihood impact will be more intense than India. And in fact, there is no country in the world like India where so many rivers are flowing from the glaciers, are fed by the glaciers, and if the glacier melting happens and it adversely affects an Indian agriculture, all of North India will be adversely affected. But I'm trying to say that there is no country in the world on which sustainable development should be at the heart of the policymakers. And in fact, Indian policymakers has been very much concerned about it. And in fact, it was very inspiring speech by Sri Pratap Chandra Sarangiji, wherein he called for a temperamental change. And he called for a harmonious existence of different living and non-living things in the planet. And in fact, he again underlined the role of we as educators, we as teachers, because the basic lessons of these should and must come from the schools and universities and colleges. My dear friends, I don't want to elaborate, only to the extent that I want to conclude by on this particular section by saying that Amartya Sen, when he was responding to Bertrand Committee report, he said, Bertrand Committee has defined sustainable development as a development that will not compromise the needs. While satisfying your need, you should not compromise the ability of the future generation to satisfy their needs. To put it in a common man's language, we should not try to develop by robbing our future generation. But I found it extremely interesting when Amartya Sen said that the need-based approach to sustainability is extremely good. But we should not forget the fact that human beings are not like just satisfying, which is there for animals. So you have to have a much wider perspective on sustainability, which he articulated in case of a freedom-oriented and capability-oriented approach. I mean, on that line, I encourage my colleagues to think. But with that point, I would like to say that I am concerned more about economic and social sustainability. Not now. Not now. You know that I'm speaking. Okay. The point which I want to highlight here is that when you talk about in this, I'm going to focus on sustainable development from an economic and social perspective. Let me say, how do I proceed from here? I would articulate how the question of sustainable development came into force, the context of that. Wherein I think I will articulate basically from as a student of economics. And then I go to the question of where do we stand with respect to sustainable development today? And when I try to peep into the future, given the current context of COVID-19, and what is going to be the likely trajectory with respect to sustainable development viewed from the lens, using the lens of an economist. My dear friends, when I talk about sustainable development of an economic perspective, this takes me back to what is called the days of the post-Second World War, wherein we all know large number of countries got their political independence. And there was, and all the leaders like our Pratap Chandra Sarangiji, his predecessors, asked the experts, what's the way forward? The answer given was, based on the past experience, either you industrialize or perish. So industrialization was seen as the ladder for catch-up for the developing countries. Now the question is, to industrialize, how to industrialize? You can do different routes. And given the experience of the Great Depression, wherein the market forces have failed, and given the experience which is available from the USSR, large majority of the countries adopted a state-orchestrated, public sector-driven, domestic market-oriented growth strategy. And you find that, according to Adam Sirmai, in 1950-51, the share of manufacturing in almost 29 of the largest developing countries at that time was 11%. And by 1980, you find their share increased to 20%. So using this particular approach, following this particular approach, they managed to build up an industrial or manufacturing base. But till then, you find that from in 1980s and 1990s, you find that a significant change, a significant shift in the policy, a mindset change among the policymakers. You find the policy pendulum shift from import substitution to export orientation. The concept of self-reliance, which was articulated not only by Indian leaders, by the leaders of other developing countries, with a lot of fervor, that became the most maligned term. The term which dominated was what is called comparative advantage. The state has taken a back seat and the market was given a front seat. Thus, from 1980s to 90s, so many, you know that including India, there was a policy change. The globalization process has started, and with the WTO that got accelerated. As a result of that, when you look at today, there has been rich dividend to the policy of globalization. Professor Deepak Nair would argue that the developing countries were especially benefited. This has been accompanied by an increase in their share in the global merchandise and global manufacturing from 30% to 45%, because their share in the global merchandise increased from 30% to 45%, and their share in global manufacturing increased from what is called 18% to 47%. And what more? Their share in the global GDP, developing countries' share in the global GDP almost increased by about 22%, and it was as high as 38% in 2014. So, my dear friends, globalization did help. And the growth report published by World Bank has shown that this was made possible because we have facilitated the operation of the division of labor. I call your attention back to the book 1 of Adam Smith, wherein he argued the virtues of division of labor. And with this division of labor, and with opening up, the division of labor was no more constrained by the extent of market. So you find that there are a global production network, wherein you are, and this global production network were orchestrated by the multinational corporations. And countries have opened up their, removed all the man-made restrictions to the mobility of commodities and factors of production, except labor. And what has been the outcome of that? You find that countries got specialized in according to their comparative advantage. And according to the global strategies of the multinational corporations towards maximizing their profitability. So you find a set of countries who are potato chip makers. There are other set of countries who are good in microchip. They are microchip makers. You know, my dear friends, $1 worth of potato chip is not the same as $1 worth of microchip. The knowledge sphere involved in that, the backward and forward linkages that comes out of, and the profit and wage that comes out of it, the commodities vary. As a result of that, what you find is that during the last 40 years of globalization, what you find is that while while the countries wanted to industrialize, deindustrialization became the hard facts of developing countries. There are a number of studies on that. And what is deindustrialization? What is deindustrialization? Decline in the share of manufacturing output in total employment or total value added output of a country. That is called deindustrialization. And this deindustrialization could be what is called a natural deindustrialization or a positive deindustrialization if this happens once the country has reached a very high level of economic progress, which is quite natural. Such deindustrialization has happened in the developed countries in the 60s and 70s when their GDP reached, manufacturing GDP reached about 30% of their total GDP, and the per capita income was about $30,000. Sorry. So what we find today is what is called the premature deindustrialization. What is premature deindustrialization? Premature deindustrialization is a deindustrialization process taking place in the developing countries at much lower level of per capita income and at a far lower level of industrialization and of course far lower level of what is called prosperity compared to the developed countries. And Danny Roderick would argue that countries that experienced deindustrialization since 1990 could manage to record only a manufacturing employment of 18.9% of the GDP, and the per capita income was only $4,200. Please compare this with those in the prior to 1990. They had a manufacturing employment share of 21%, and the per capita income was as high as $11,000. So what we have a situation like a middle income trap. Many of the countries in Latin America, for example, Argentina, Brazil, and even including of Malaysia, even to a great extent, Thailand, they're all what is called leading to a situation, what is called a middle income trap. Beyond that, they are not able to proceed, wherein this deindustrialization is playing an important role. And what is more remarkable, what is more painful rather is what is called deindustrialization without industrialization. I'm referring to some of the African countries, wherein the share of manufacturing employment started declining even when the per capita income is not even $100,000 and the share of manufacturing GDP is not even 5%. And this is what actually the contribution of globalization, wherein the developing countries are confronted with a precarious condition, wherein the ladder that was available to the today's developed countries to catch up, that is industrialization, is no more available to you. And I would like to elaborate this particular point by taking the case of Indian experience. I don't want to tell a long story how we adopted, and I would like to say that when India launched their industrialization, our share of manufacturing GDP was about 9%, and that increased over time to reach about and we have made various attempts. So what I'm going to look at here is Indian experience, another 10 minutes, wherein I would like to articulate how this particular process has acted as an essential ingredient of increasing inequality, which I would consider not sustainable. Increasing inequality across countries, increasing inequality within countries, and this inter-country and intra-country inequality which globalization has contributed towards, I would like to attribute to see that process, the underlying process, through the prism of deindustrialization. Let me just try to argue here that when you take the share of manufacturing, see, when you talk about deindustrialization for my students, the initial attempt was the way in which it used to be articulated was using employment share. And I have taken here the employment share in India. The share of employment actually was 10.4% during the pre-liberalization period, which I consider pre-95. WTO is considered as a cutoff point. And it increased marginally to reach 11.8% in 2016-17. And in fact, if you look at the growth rate of employment It was only 1.7% during the pre-liberalization period. It increased to 2.6% in the post-liberalization period or under globalization. This is what this particular curve shows. So, according to Dasgupta and Singh, in case of India, there is no clear evidence of deindustrialization when you look at from employment, because if much of our employment happened in the unorganized sector, and there has been the growth rate has been higher. So going by employment, there is no evidence of deindustrialization. Now let us look at the share of contribution of manufacturing to manufacturing output to GDP. What you find here is that the share has increased to reach the highest by around 20%, to reach about 20%, 21% clearly in 1995-96. And that declined thereafter from reaching the peak here somewhere in 1996. From there, it has declined to reach a present level of 16%. And it is almost on par with what prevailed in early 1980s. So viewed in terms of, now what's viewed in terms of, if you compare with the China, you find, I'm repeating these numbers here, the share of manufacturing increased gradually from 19% in 1980 to nearly 21% in 1995. And you know that since 1995, Indian policymakers have made concerted efforts towards picking up the share of manufacturing, and we aimed at reaching 25% and of GDP. And we wanted to create 100 million employment in manufacturing, so on and so forth. However, even today, we have got the share is only 16%. Thus, there is a declining trend in the share of manufacturing GDP when our per capita income is not even $2,000. And this become very striking when you compare with the China's performance. I mean, because China's performance is, sometimes we are all tempted to do, because we all started more or less the same way. During 1980 to 1995, India's share in manufacturing almost doubled, 15 years. And from 1995 to 2017, almost 23 years it doubled. So the first period of pre-globalization period, we managed to, that pre-globalization period, according to Daniel Rodriguez and Subramanian, is called a pro-business period. That pro-business period, we could double 15 years. And thereafter, we have what is called the pro-market period. The pro-market period, it took almost 23 years to double the manufacturing share of India in the global GDP. Whereas during the second period, I would like to call here, China has almost increased 3 to 4-fold their share in the world GDP. And today they account for almost 30% of the global GDP. China's share is on the left axis, and India's share on the right axis. So the point which I'm trying to say is that, there is a riddle here. I mean, of course, there are earlier scholars like Nagesh Kumar, Amirapu and Subramanian, Professor Chowdhury, Sudip Chowdhury, and others have already said that using manufacturing GDP, India is having a premature industrialization. But if you look at the manufacturing employment, that is the commonly used measure in the cross-country studies, we don't have any clear evidence of, okay, I must hurry up, evidence of this thing. But on the other hand, here's a riddle here. So to get out of the riddle, what I try to argue that to analyze global industrialization, we cannot confine only to GDP, manufacturing share in GDP, or manufacturing share employment. Rather, we should go beyond that. We have to look in terms of what is the nature and character of employment, the quality of employment generated out of it. You can have a situation wherein employment is generated, but it doesn't end up creating value added. You may have a situation wherein operation is successful, but the patient died, because it is through higher wages that the income, that Keynesian type multiplier, that promotes growth process in a developing country, that I don't want to elaborate. Now, what actually happened to look quality of employment? You look at the quality of employment, take an indicator, what is called the share of contract labor in total manufacturing in India's organized manufacturing sector. It is almost a 3-fold increase. From 1993 to 2017, the quality of employment, the contract labor in India's manufacturing sector almost increased. And and this has it have any impact on the extent of value addition? Because after all, as Amartya Sen says, I mean, I don't want to elaborate on that. It's not the employment that matter. What is the value addition that matters? As I already said, you are placed in the international production network as potato producers, potato chip producers, and microchip producers. And here, what is happening to value addition capability of India? You look at here, the manufacturing capability, the value addition capability of India's manufacturing sector has actually increased. Let me guess. It increased in 1980s to 1995, and thereafter you see a steady decline. Of course, from 2013 onwards, the 12-13 onwards, there's a slight revival. Even then, the current share is at a much lower level than. So the question which we need to ask is, are we integrating with the world market with integrity? Are you globalizing, to quote Joseph Stiglitz? Are you globalizing at your terms? Are you globalizing at your pace? And if you are not, it can lead to what is called unmitigated disaster. Now, this is what this particular pattern of declining the contract labor, the declining quality of labor, which in turn can have its repercussions on the distribution in terms of profit and wages, which reflect on the inequality. Here, what it comes, you find that the red curve, the share of profit in gross value added, has increasing steadily, whereas you have a situation wherein the share of wages almost 1/3 of what remained in 1980s. Of course, now there is a slight revival, but even today, the situation is much below what it prevailed during the so-called pro-business period. Now the question is that I have 2 minutes to speak. Okay, I'll take 10 more minutes. Organizers.
Then you can continue.
I'll finish.
You
How
can
much more
continue,
minutes?
sir.
Oh, wonderful. That's great. Okay. You are so nice. You are so kind to me, I must say. Okay. Now, the point what we see is that the declining share of what we are trying to say is that you have a declining share of wages, an increase in the share of profit. That essentially saying that you are trying to globalize, in a globalized world, we are trying to build competitiveness, which can be silly called as immiserizing competitiveness. And you find that your real wages are not really growing in sync with productivity. Your productivity has been increasing, the two curves, and this productivity growth is not moving in sync with your productivity, in sync with your wages are not growing in sync with productivity. This aggregate picture, if you look at across different industries, there is this table. What is evident from the table is written here. The growth in real wage rate lagged much behind productivity growth, all the industries during both periods. But what is more important is that the extent of difference between growth in real wages and growth in productivity increased significantly under globalization. The growing wedge between growth in real wages and productivity growth cannot be delinked from the declining quality of employment, my dear friends. So this is the key ingredient of inequality building in India's industrial sector. Now the question is how to account for this. I'm actually an innovation person. If I don't speak innovation, I feel very upset. So I want to bring it. I hope how to account for this situation. I told you that there is what is called the deindustrialization happening at the global level. Having said this, we must also recognize the fact that the share of manufacturing in the global economy, the share of manufacturing value added remained almost constant at 14%. And share of manufacturing employment remained constant at almost 17% during the last 40 years. This essentially means that some countries are gaining, some countries are losing. This essentially means that all are not able to take a due share of that pie. Of course, China might be considered as a villain here. From my side, as an innovation scholar, the key question is that the emerging world under globalization is one wherein you can survive if and only if you are competitive. And competitiveness doesn't fall from heaven like manna. It has to be created. And it has to be, international competitiveness comes from innovation. And that innovation is actually a progeny of the innovation system of the country that you have. That innovation system can be seen at the national level, and that can be seen at the sectoral level, and that can be seen at the regional level, or even sub-regional level. Now, the key question is, has India been able to build up a vibrant internal innovation system at the different levels to survive in the globally competitive world? I'm inclined to believe that, my dear friends, we have actually, there is reason to believe that India has adopted what is called a hastened globalization without preparing yourself adequately. Whereas in China, when we signed in 1996, China opened up only 2003. They waited and watched. And even I know a case where I studied very in-depth in electronics and IT goods. I find that China had a share of just 2%, and they're sharing this to 30. Now they supply the whole electronics to the world. Where are we? China's electronics export is almost double that of almost 180% more than almost 500 billion. Whereas India's total export is little over 300, not even 300, around 300. So what I'm trying to say is that there is reason to believe that we build up international, we have opened up without building adequate competitiveness, and the state has taken a back seat. And as a result of that, we find here, look at it. I don't have the time to elaborate upon the innovation system. I'm taking a crude indicator of gross expenditure on research and development as a percentage of GDP. You find here from 96 onwards, it has been increasing, and it reached a peak of not around 0.85%, and thereafter just declined. When the firms are exposed to intense international competitiveness, your measure to build up that competitiveness is going back. I remember in 1996, if I remember, 95, when I was a PhD scholar, when I went and met this I told many people, if I remember in my head, I met Sri Jairam Ramesh. He was actually an OSD in the planning commission at that time. He shared me a note which was got the then industry planning commission member, Dr. Abidul Hussain, and it was saying that India will be aiming at during the 8th five-year plan to raise our GDP to 2% of GDP. This target has been kept for ages. Even today, it is not even 1%. Whereas China, they spent almost more than 2.1, I think 2.1% this year. And the number of patents, India has a total number of patents this year, if I remember correctly, of 49,000, and China is around, is almost 18 million. Where is the comparison? So what I'm trying to say is that, and as a result of this kind of a homework building, capability building, what you find here is that, there is an earlier study which Dinesh Abrol and myself, we argued that during 1973-82, India's R&D capability building process was much ahead of many other countries. And Surendra Patel made an interesting statement saying that the maze of institutional architecture that India has made towards building technological capability has no comparison in any of the southern developing countries, even comparable to developed countries. Here I am arguing that in this paper we have shown that our performance is almost on par with the Germany by input measure. I don't think that it's output measure. But input measure is also equally important, isn't it? If a student who works very hard gets good mark. Of course, there are smart guys without doing work get marks, but still input is very important. Now, my dear friends, As a result of that, what you find here is that the share of high-tech industries in manufacturing output and employment in India declined. You go look at this share. The share of low-tech, you look at the high-tech industry, the share was 32.6%, and that increased to 36.9% by 98, and thereafter it is declined. And we are known for we are known to be a low-tech industry, not so much. Of course, we talk about IT, we talk about auto components, of course, we talk about what is called pharma. These are all, I must say, in a large country like India, these are all isolated excellent islands of excellences. This is not what India needs. And even in IT, I mean, we have got applications, and I don't want to be critical. There are at least some areas. Now, as a result of that, if you look at the quality index of India, look at that curve, the below curve, that is India's quality index, significantly at lower level than many other countries. And what is more important, my dear friends, if you look at India's growth in terms of export, in terms of quantum index and unit value index, you will find that our unit value index is substantially low. That means we are not able to charge high price. We are competing on low price, and we are able to charge low price by exploiting labor here or paying low wage. We are working on the low wage advantage. That low wage is basically because of the misrising competitiveness. So this is where we are actually. So what I'm trying to say is that we have been, when viewed from the perspective of socioeconomic sustainability, the growth that we have generated under globalization has not been shared prosperity. You have inequality at all levels increasing. Along with that, you have been exploiting your natural resources to the hilt. So we have a development paradigm, development trajectory under globalization, which is neither sustainable from the ecological perspective, nor from the economic sustainable perspective. This is exactly what has led to the declaration of Sustainable Development Goals by United Nations as a graduation of the Millennium Development Goals. And where do we stand on it now? Okay, now India has been making its all-out effort to do that, and you will find this particular graph. This particular graph of prepared by Niti Aayog says that something very interesting. 8 states and 2 union territories are front runners. And that means their grade, their rank, the index is above 50. Very encouraging. And others are aspirants and kind of stuff. And viewed from a geographical perspective, you have got front runners. Southern states are doing better, but at the same time, the large part of India's states are lagging behind, including Northeast. This is a point of concern. But at the same time, this aggregate picture conceals more than what it reveals, because we can quarrel with their index and all. The point which I want to say is that if you look at different sustainable development goals, 14 states and 3 union territories with respect to SDG number 1, no poverty, they fall behind. They are in the aspirant category with index less than 50. When it comes to zero hunger, again, 22 states and 3 union territories fall behind. They are in the category within an index of less than 50. And about good health and well-being, it's slightly better, only 4 states. And when it comes to gender equity, interesting thing, look at this. The whole index range between 26 and 52. And the highest index is only 52, and by Himachal Pradesh, and followed by Kerala with 51. And what I'm trying to argue here is that we have a long way to go. And, we have a long way to go if you look at on all these indices, particularly like, for example, sustainable cities and communities, on industry innovation, we have a long way to go. And this curve from this graph is actually much better for South Asia by UNESCAP. It shows that, look at that 2009 vertical line. This shows, except for quality of education and affordable and clean energy, the South Asia is what? Basically India. Huh? So they lag behind. So we are, and in this context, it is in this context that when we are lagging much behind, not only with in all these dimensions, because sustainable development doesn't fall from manna. The achievement depends upon how you orchestrate your economy and society. It is in this context that we have the COVID-19 pandemic hitting the world as a whole, and we, as a means of controlling it, we have a common strategy given to us, what is called social distancing. And that in fact meant a serious impact on the economy. And I am trying to articulate that through this particular graph. Was a student of economics, one can see it from a supply shock, or we can see it as a demand shock. From the supply shock, you can have the impact in terms on the primary sector and the secondary sector and the tertiary sector. If you want to really examine this, in fact, we have recently done a study for government of Kerala on it. What the message which we need to understand here is that, the intersectoral differences. There is primary sector is different, impact on primary sector is different from that of the secondary sector, and that is different from the tertiary sector. And within sector, there are intra-sectoral differences. Within primary sector, for example, like a crop like tea, if you don't harvest for 2 crops, you know that the plant will grow, and you may have to again go for another this thing, and again you have to wait. On the other hand, a crop like coconut, so long as you are careful that it doesn't fall on your head and kill yourself, the crop will come. So what I'm trying to say that there are intra-sectoral differences and intersectoral differences. Within manufacturing sector, while some of the industries are less affected, others are more affected. In service sector, for example, some of the government services may be less affected or whatever. Tourism, for example, is badly affected. So what we have, this economic impact from the supply shock that get translated in the tax revenue of the government. And of course, tax and non-tax revenue, and of course, and that in turn leads to your ability to address the needed expenditure, both in terms of revival, or in terms of protection. And this government expenditure, in fact, gets translated into demand, and that this is a particular way in which one should look at. And in this context, what actually has happened? Again, I am quoting here actually from UNSCAP report, and we have a lot of studies on India. We have been, of course, Indian economy is going, there are estimates vary. NCAR would go up to the saying that our growth rate will be even less by 15%, I suppose. And anyway, it's one thing is sure, we are going to have a major shock. And as a result of what is evident is that there is something like 132 million people could be pushed into extreme poverty. This is what UNSCAP, out of this 132 million, they estimate large majority will be from India. And again, inequality may widen because we have already inherited a society. And even before the COVID pandemic breaking in, economy has been on the downswing. And inequalities could widen as women, vulnerable groups and marginal groups are affected more adversely. Quite obvious reasons. And rising food insecurity could be affecting the health conditions, so on and so forth. And at the same time, my dear friends, while I'm trying to say that there are severe setback that COVID has set on us, my dear friends, I'm trying to argue that COVID has also taught us very, very valuable lessons. To begin with, it has realized the perils of unbridled opening up. And if you depend very much on your comparative advantage and the world market, you can be in trouble. The firms and industries whose production network or supply chains are globally distributed are much more adversely affected as compared to more which are locally integrated. So I'm trying to argue that, including industries like electronics, it is very high time that we have to think in terms of, instead of going for global production network, these GPNs, it is high time that we have to look in terms of national production network. This takes me back to the, Now, second point is, my dear friends, as I already said, in the 1950s, when we started our planning, self-reliance was the most respected term. And today, self-reliance is again giving respect. And the neglect, and what is happening is that the role of the state was never the role of the state in protecting the lives of the people and livelihood of the people. Today, pandemic has shown that only state can do it. And the role of state has again come to the fore. And if you want to reverse this trend, only state can play a role. And the point which we need to do is that any effort towards reaping these advantages of pandemic has to be based on building vibrant systems of learning, innovation, and competence building systems at the national level, at the regional level, and at the sectoral level. And I see there are a number of initiatives. Atmanirbhar, for example, one could see a ray of hope. But, my dear friends, in this country, we have given so many checks to the poor. So many checks, many of them bounced. And I wish and I hope that this new check will not bounce and the policymakers will be able to walk their talk. With these words, I conclude. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Professor K.J. Joshi. Thank you very much, Professor K.J. Joshi. He was spoken starting from Frontline Commission to the development works, particularly the research works undertaken in India and also across India, including the African countries. We have spoken at length about industrialization, globalization in an economic perspective, future perspective, and current context. Actually, you have opened up our international webinar in a fruitful way, where we are moving forward. Your title, Sustainable Development, which way we are now. Really, you have justified your title. And we have learned many new things through the recent researches all over the world. So we enriched ourselves with your address and hope that we'll get you in future also in all such academic endeavors. Thank you very much, sir. Dear delegates, participants, and resource persons, we come to the end of the keynote address session. It was really a fruitful session. We have heard at length about the economical conditions regarding the sustainable development goals across India and all over the world, the status, etc. Where we are now. So, as we are running out of time, we are a little bit late. The first technical session was supposed to be started at 1:41. So we are a little bit late. So without further delay, we are going to start our first technical session, that is gratifying the globe. So welcoming everybody to the one of our interesting session, gratifying the globe, where the resource persons from across the globe will share their research on our topic on sustainable development, prospects and challenges, across country analysis. Now, I would like to request our organizing secretary, Dr. Bimal Kishore Acharya, to please introduce our resource person, Mr. Andres Kassenbach, Director, Institute for Sustainable Development, Poland. Over to Organizing Secretary for introducing our resource person, Professor Kessenberg. Over to you, sir.
Welcome to the technical session 1 of day 1 of the International Webinar on Sustainable Development, Prospects and Challenges across country analysis. Organized by Maharaja Veer Vikram College, Agartala, Tripura, India. In the technical session 1, that is gratifying the globe, we have two eminent research persons, Professor Andres Kessenberg, Director, Institute of Sustainable Development, Poland, and Mr. Donald Kibuti, Udra, Bamboo and Distribution Company Limited, Tanzania, East Africa. I personally give the first research person of this technical session to the platform. Professor Andres Kessenberg, with your due permission, may I introduce you here, Professor? May I introduce you? Thank you, sir. Professor Andres Kessenberg is a pioneer of sustainable development in the Poland. He is the initiator and first chairman of the Environmental Impact Assessment Commission of the Ministry of Environment in Poland. As a renowned professor and as a man of international rating, Professor Andres Kessenberg is also the co-founder of the Institute of Sustainable Development, Poland, and remains its director for many years. He has been engaged in scientific activities as a sustainable development policy expert. His role in green movement in Poland, Professor Kessenberg is the winner of several awards, including the Scientific Award for the Polish Academy of Science, Man of the Year 2005, and many more. He has more than 60 publications, reports, research papers to his credit. Professor Andres Kessenberg, now the platform is yours. Please carry on, sir.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, you are perfectly audible.
Hello.
Yes, sir, you are perfectly audible.
Okay.
We can hear you, sir.
Can you allow me to share the screen? Because it's not. Can you allow me? Can you, as a host, to allow
Hello, sir. Hello, sir.
Yes, sir, we are allowing
me to start my. Can you see my presentation?
Yes, sir, it is visible. Yes, sir, it is visible.
Okay. Okay, can I start now? First of all, I want to thank you for invitation for this interesting international webinar on sustainable development prospects and challenges across country analysis. It's an honor for me to have a speech in this webinar and to many colleagues, especially from India, and I want to thank you that you invite me. And I will presented the idea and strategy of something which is very new in European Union, which is called Green Deal. Green Deal is something that was developed after the more than 20 years of experience of sustainable development in European Union. And now the Green Deal is seen as a vehicle for the new type of the development in the European Union. They need to be climate neutral. They need to protect the nature and simultaneously to create the good conditions for people and economy. You can see the two most important persons in the European Commission. They presented that this strategy, it's not only about the environment, but the strategy is to create the much broader concept. And I want to present the concept to you. It is six priority for this Green Deal. First of all, it is to build the climate neutrality. That means that is a balance between the emission of the greenhouse gases and this is the with the sequestration of the gases by the forest, by the agriculture. Next, it is the need to work for people to build some kind of fairness and prosperity. Third, it is to see that the new technology is in the process and will be speed up in the future, and we need to be prepared for it. Fourth, it is to create the life, the something they can be recognized that is the people are quite can use the broad sense of the happiness. Next, European Union want to be the important all globally. And the last one is about the democracy and about the sharing and public participation. This is general concept that was developed by the new European Commission at the end of the year 2019. What the EU want to achieve? I mentioned about the climate neutrality.
Hello, sir.
Hello?
Sir, your video is off, sir. Sir, you start your video. You are not visible, sir. Sir, you are audible but not visible. You start your video.
Not visible?
Not visible, not so visible, sir. Sir, you unmute your video, sir. Yes, sir. Yes. Sir, click on start your video.
I have. Can you?
Sir, now it's okay.
It's now visible.
Sir, you are visible.
Hello?
Yes, sir, you are visible now. Yes, sir, you are visible now.
Can you see my presentation?
No, no, sir. You have to share your screen, sir.
That I'll
you click
continue.
on share screen.
That is the. I try to do that. I try to do that, but the. What now? Can you see my presentation? Hello?
Sir, it's opening.
Hello?
Hello, sir. Sir, you have just started your screen sharing, but it's not okay. Sir, just wait a minute.
Everything is okay or not? Yeah? Can I continue here, sir?
Sir, your screen is not visible now. Not visible, sir.
Visible, okay.
Not,
Let's
sir,
continue.
not visible, sir.
It is about the nature, about the climate neutrality. I try my best.
Sir, excuse me, sir. Sir, you are visible, but your screen is not visible. Sir, you click on the share screen. Then select one screen. After that, click on the share button. Yes, sir. It's okay right now, sir. You can continue.
Okay. Next is to create the clean product, the clean technology, and of course it is the justice and inclusion. Sorry. It's okay.
Sir, again you closed your screen sharing. You shared the screen and sir, open one PPT and then continue. Yes, sir. Now it's okay. Now you can continue, sir. Sir, again you closed your screen sharing.
Now you okay? Hello?
Sir, it's opening. Now it's okay, sir.
Okay. Okay. That's the key element I mentioned at the beginning is climate neutrality. That means it is the full decarbonized energy supply in European Union. It is the building the sustainable mobility. It is put a lot of attention of energy efficiency. It is to modernize the industrial sectors, especially based on the concept of circular economy. I'll be talking a little later. It is to build the network infrastructure in the connection inside in European Union. It is the take to account that very important for the future will be to change from the non-renewable resources to renewable resources and to create the bioeconomy, create the quite substantial carbon things. And finally, which is not very accepted by me, but it is the concept of the carbon capture and storage as a solution for the climate change. I will see on the screen earlier, the goal for year 2020 was 20% minus. Now is more than 22, almost 22, but we need to change a lot because we need to achieve in year 2050 95% of reduction to compare year 1990. This last 5%, it will be the thing from the nature. And if we not go in this direction and we continue, that means like this green and yellow lines, which is not acceptable from the concept of the neutrality. First time in the European Union make a decision. It is not accepted yet, but it's in the process of acceptance. It was to build everything on the European climate law. That it can be quite strong tool that because will be the targets started for year 2030 and continue each 5 or maybe 10 years will be the some kind of the checking point. And it gives us the opportunity to keep the track, or we are on the way or not. That is, in the law will be about the model resources efficiency, competitiveness, and of course, there will be an issue of affecting by the climate and the Europeans, especially to strengthen and the resilience issue in European. Short intervention about different types of the policy. I thought with energy policy, on the left you see the current targets. It has 40% reduction compared to year 2000 to year 1990. It's increased 32% of the share of the renewable energy consumption, and it is increased the energy efficiency. Now it is discussed that it's not enough. Some people say in the European Parliament they need to be 50-55%. of the cutting of emission by environmental NGO talking about the 65%. You see that it's a concept of the clean energy. It is the 5 dimension of the energy in European Union: efficiency, security, integration of the market, decarbonization of economy, and research and innovation and competitiveness. I want to show that this process happens. We are now in the process of changing the mix, electricity mix in our capacity, and 2018 it was the most increase was in the wind energy capacity, PV, natural gas, and partly in other renewables, but was declared of the capacity for nuclear, fuel oil, and coal. And this process is the element what I mentioned in this Green Deal, that we are going in this direction, and probably we want to achieve in year 2050 87% from the renewables for energy, for electricity production. Next aspect is the transport sector. The transport sector is the one of the critical, but now we have this pandemic of coronavirus, and this is a changing because they very strongly affected transport, especially the air transport, which was a really problem because the emission was increasing very, very drastically. That now in this new transport policy, it is focused on the resources efficiency, is the optimizing the multimodal transport policy in European Union. And this is was repeat in something which is called Graz. It is the city in Austria declaration that in Europe need to be clean, safe, and affordable mobility. That means zero emission. That means in management and planning, build the concept of sustainable mobility to create the eco chain of transport services, promote the health, safety, and of course multimodality, what I mentioned before. Everything of this, it is going in the improving the well-being of the health of the citizens and future generation. It's many elements how you see on the screen related to the transport, energy, related to the food, and etc. And I'll be talking a little more earlier, but I think it's a very important is that we need as a European to change the concept of the consumption. The consumption can base of the idea, I can say enough is enough, but not as a better for GDP, better for economy. I think it needs to be really changed. One of the new elements which is included in the application of the Green Deal, it is the concept of the Circular Economy Action Plan, what was adopted in April this year. Its main elements, it is need to be that the products can be used much longer. It's the issue of the second life of the product and completely decrease the waste. It is the new model of the business, not to selling the product, but to selling the satisfaction of the clients. Like, for example, not to deliver the electricity to the, for example, airport, but to create the concept that the company which is today deliver the electricity, they can deliver the lights and be paid for the lights. That means they be much more worried about the efficiency of using the energy and efficiency of the bulb and whole system. It is the phase out of the single-use products, very important microplastics, and it is the residual products and food services because it's a really problem in European Union. And of course, it is the full concept of the waste prevention and reduction. Other elements related to this Green Deal, it is the agriculture policy. The agriculture policy is now see much more broader from farm to fork, It's the issue of sustainable food production. It is issue of less waste and to be much more worried if you consume, much more worry if you buying the food, what kind of the food you buying, that need to be healthy food. I think it's really very difficult issue for European how to change the diet, then the diet can be more healthy and more friendly for environment, especially for climate. It means it's much red meat and go much broader for the vegetarian and vegan type of the diet, which is I think it's India much more favorable than European Union. And going almost to the end, I want to show the very important element because we're losing the biodiversity, and it's necessary to do much more about to save the nature, save the biodiversity. You see some these goals, it is 30% of the land need to be protected, and the same of the sea, and it's need to increasing the organic farming means that the farmers are not going to be responsible for the production, but be responsible for keeping the biodiversity, keeping the landscape, and they need to be paid by the society to do that. It is the problem of the declining the use of the pesticides, planting the tree, and very important it is to revise the how we see the rivers because we are many people still there and we see river as a pipeline with the water, but I think it's much more broader and needs some restoration, rehabilitation of the rivers. And finally, I'm going to do something which is very important because without the money you couldn't do anything. Just in the July, it was the decision of European Council, which is not the final because it to be accepted by the Parliament. But how you see on the year 2024, we want to spend for the much special fund, recovery fund related to the pandemic. What is important, I want to once more express Green Deal, it is not environmental protection and etc. And for the etc. This next generation EU fund related to the European Green Deal. And I think something that I show you in the point number 4, they need related to the European Green Deal. European Union to be much closer to climate neutrality in year 2050 and two new climate target for year 2030 are mentioned 50 or 55% or maybe more decline of the emission. But something what I especially want to on the expenditure in EU need to be consistent with the Paris Agreement objectives. That means we not finance something which is against of the Paris Agreement. I want to say that ecological sustainability, I think, is first because without the ecological sustainability, never happened the socio-economic sustainability. Because we need to think about our children and grandchildren because we borrow the earth for them. But if you borrow something, you need to back in the good shape. Thank you for your attention. If you have some questions, I am ready to open. Ready to answer. Sorry. Hello. Hello. Hello, is somebody there?
Hello, sir.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. I'm finished. I'm ready for question if some.
Thank you, sir. Actually, we have sent one question.
I see the question on the chat.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Of course, it is see the sustainable development, especially in developed countries, and how it needs to be, control, checking, and etc. Because unfortunately, each of the countries have his own agenda. We are together, the European Union, but probably that is not so easy if you have a now 27 country which can to find agreement. And I think it's not so naive to say that everything is beautiful. What I presented will be fully agree. I think it's the most difficult for me. It is that the developed country are go so far anti-sustainability and how they build this what I call enough is enough society, and to give the space for the developing country. I think it's a critical, and I think we are on the beginning of the discussion. I have a feeling that these 17 sustainable development goals partly are not sustainable, especially if you compare one with another. We need to work on this much, broader and deeper. Hello? Maybe more questions?
Yes, sir. There is another question. Sir, I do have a
Do you
question.
put it up? Because
what is your prescription for the developing countries? Developing countries
I can't
like
see
India,
I can't see
like
the new
India,
question.
for maintaining sustainable development goals.
Yeah.
What is your prescription for developing country like India for maintaining the sustainable development goals?
If I correct understand, it's difficult for me to make advice to the India because my knowledge about India is very limited. I think that maybe you not agree with me, but I think in India many solutions, many activities. It is very close to this concept of the sustainability, but like in the Central East European country, because we are follow the Western country, the India in some elements, maybe not only some, maybe many elements, is going in this direction to be like the Western country. And I think it is really very difficult issue, this solution, which is sustainable India, and not follow what is the pushing from the Western country. And I give you the examples. Came from Poland. Before the changes in 1990, we started the new life. We have a quite good developed railway system, and we're losing about 60% of the passengers. And this time we developed the highway, develop the mass motorization. We cut the country by these main roads, and we're losing this opportunity that was the base of the concept of the transport on the public transport and the railway. And after the 30 years, we are now trying to rebuild partly, but it's not easy. I want to say we lost something that was during the communist time was more sustainable, and we built something unsustainable, and now we want to partly back to this the lesson from the many Central European country for the country like India and the others who are in the process of development.
Thank you very much, sir. You have nicely elaborated how it can be replicated to India. Thank you very much, sir, for sharing your deep knowledge about the idea and strategy of European Green Deal. We are really enlightened, enriched, and get idea about the European Green Deal, that the strategy way forward in Europe. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Actually, your session was full of enthusiasm and valuable knowledge. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. That give me the opportunity to present.
Sir, I beg your pardon. If we could go, there are some more questions. One question from Mr. Kuldeep Gosai. How do you perceive the challenges in the attainment of SDG in the post-pandemic era? How do you perceive the challenges in the attainment of SDGs in the post-pandemic era?
Hello, sir, you are not audible. Sorry, sir, you are not audible.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir, you are audible now.
That's a very good question. Because from one side, we see that the world is stopped a little and started to think a little differently about their life, about what is important. More important is that you are in your family, in your circle, and you can make a better life, not only to buy the goods, because you have some this limit, some lockdown, and it's a time for rethinking. Do you want to make 3 cars in the family, or you want to make each month to travel around the world or something like this? And I think it's a positive element, but not easy, because sometimes it's a little sad, because you are feel as a close. And many people think we want to come back to the former time, and I think it not happened. We need to a lot of change. It is one element, but the second element is this pandemic create the more difficult problems. And I give you the examples from my country. When during this pandemic time, and now as well, it's a limit of the passengers in public transport. And this limit is, one is formal because it's legal, and second, people are not afraid to go to the public transport. And on the 1st of the September will be the new the school will be started, and the Minister of Education said that please not, please, how to say, not use too much public transport by the pupil, by the students. That's all these elements provide that the people use with the car. If the people use with the car, there will be the traffic jam, will be more emission, not only the ground gases, but the others emission. That you see that it's another element which is generally negative of the pandemic. I have a feeling that we are in the middle of the pandemic, and we have not enough time for rethinking about what after the pandemic. And I'm afraid that the businesses, the people who are very familiar with the format way of living are quite strong, and they want to come back about their life before the pandemic. From my understanding, it's impossible because we have too many limits of the Earth. We are breaking the planet's boundaries in many elements, and I've been delighted. And I think that this seminar, that this webinar is good for this, to thinking about the future differently and to think as people who live on the same earth, sustainable solidarity. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, sir. There is another question from our esteemed participant, V. Mala and K. Raju. The question is, how we can understand that over mining and production of plastic towards sustainable development of future generation? How we can understand that over mining and production of plastic towards sustainable development of future generation?
If I understand you, you're talking about the mining,
right, sir,
and plastics, yeah?
Yes, sir, right, sir.
Okay. We need to make a decision, or we will be base our economy on the non-renewable resources. And in this moment, they will be. We need the mining, especially I am talking about the coal, about the gas, about the crude oil. If we want to have a really neutrality in year 2050, which is written in Paris Agreement, and not to broken, not only 2 Celsius degree increase of the global temperature, but not increase the 1.5, we need to see differently the way how we will be produce the energy, how we use, how we be produce the chemical products. It's a really important element of changing of our industry and our life. The plastic, I think, is this. The element is very similar in some sense, because today the plastic is produced from the renewables, non-renewables resources. We need to go to the bioplastics. That means that we create the plastic because it's used as a part of the bioeconomy. It's another element for rethinking, because if everything will be from the biological resources, the question will be: it's enough resources, but what about the food? It is some kind of the competitiveness between bioeconomy and the food production. Many questions is behind of us, and we have no see the full answer yes. But I'm sure that we need to close down the mines, and it's going on in Poland, very difficult, very accepted, and we need to change the thinking about the plastic. If we need so many plastic, maybe we cannot go like this. And next base of the. Thank you. Hello? Hello?
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. There is another query from our esteemed participant, Raji Caballero. How far can we sustain development? How far can we sustain development as far as COVID-19 pandemic is concerned? How far can we sustain development as far as
Can you repeat, because
COVID-19?
it's not clear, you know, was how far the sustainable development, and the next part, it's very difficult to hear.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thanks a lot for addressing all the queries made by our esteemed participants and resource persons. On behalf of the organizing committee, we are offering a great thanks and big round of applause to Professor Andres Kassenbach for delivering a fruitful session on the topic idea and strategy of European Green Deal. Sir, you have addressed all the queries in a decent way, in a sustainable way, actually, and we shall be obliged and grateful to you for your delivery, lecture, and inspiration. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. I see that those recording, if somebody looking for my slides wants to raise the questions on the end of the slides, is the mail address to me, and I'll be delighted to answer of the question, you know, person.
Many thanks, sir, for sharing your
to person.
email
Thanks to us
ID
more for
and also inviting us to send our queries related to your presentation in future also. And we look forward to hear from you in our future endeavor. We look forward to hear from you in our future webinar, seminar, etc. Thank you, sir. Thank you once again. Have a good day, sir. Now it's time to move to our next resource person, Mr. Donald Kibuthi. Mr. Donald Kibuthi is the team leader, Wadga Bamboo and Briquetting Company Limited, Tanzania, East Africa. His topic is on ecological, social, and economical sustainability using bamboo, a case study of Tanzania. May I now request Dr. Bimal Kishore Acharya to please introduce our resource person from East Africa, Mr. Donald Kibuthi. Over to you, Mr. Acharya.
Welcome, Mr. Donald Kibuthi. May I now request you to let me permit to introduce you to our participant, Mr. Kibuthi. May I go ahead, sir, to introduce you? Okay, thank you, sir. Mr. Donald Kibuthi is the team leader of Wadga Bamboo and Briquetting Company Limited, Tanzania, which produces bamboo charcoal, bamboo furniture, and handicrafts. A very young and energetic, sustainable entrepreneur, Mr. Donald has a master's degree in natural resource assessment and management. He is a former international network of bamboo and rattan project coordinator. He has a proven experience and expertise on livelihood and economic development program on bamboo and natural resource management in Tanzania and East Africa. He has vast experience of on-farm and off-farm value chain transformation, forest-based micro-enterprises, and livelihood development, clean energy promotion, etc. Welcome to Mr. Donald Kibuthi. Now the platform belongs to you. Please carry on.
Sorry, sir, you are not audible. Kindly unmute yourself. Hello, sir, your mic is on.
Now, I'm audible now.
Yes, sir, you are audible.
I'm audible. Eh?
Yes, sir.
Can I continue?
Yes, please continue, sir.
Oh, thank you for inviting me for this international webinar on the sustainable development prospects and challenges, and to give me an opportunity to speak on the ecological, social, and economical sustainable development using bamboo as an African experience, case study of Tanzania. So let me share with you my presentation in screen. Please enable me to share this presentation. Okay. Hello.
Sir, you are audible.
I'm audible.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I want to share my file is on my computer desktop, but here on screen I see share, there is Dropbox, Microsoft Drive, Google Drive.
Sir, please go to share screen.
What?
Please go to share screen.
Hello. Hello, Mr. Kibuthi.
Hello.
Please carry on. Please go to the share screen. Share screen.
Yes.
Please go to share screen.
Share screen.
Share screen. Okay.
Share screen. Yes, I went to the share screen now.
Yeah. Click on it.
Yes, I click it. I want to go direct.
Then sir, select one window.
On the window.
Then click on the share button.
Share button, yes.
Sir, after that you will get a message that you are sharing your screen.
Share button.
Sir, is there any problem, sir?
Sir, are you facing any problem?
I'm facing the problem of getting that document. My document is on my desktop. So when I go to the share screen,
No.
If I go to the share screen here.
Yes, sir. Click on the share screen. Then one window will be there.
In share screen, in my computer, I see at the top there is basic, advanced, and the files. So
Sir, after the share screen, what appears in your window, sir?
Okay, I see.
So let me know.
Now?
Yes, sir, you're doing. Yes, sir. Now okay, sir. You shared already.
Okay.
Now carry on, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
F5, you do F5. Donald.
Yes.
Put F5, then full screen will come.
At this time now?
Okay, done. Carry on.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your invitation. I'll repeat it. Yeah, my sharing is regarding my experience on bamboo, especially in Tanzania or East Africa. Here, my topic is ecological, social, and economic sustainable development using bamboo, an African experience case study of Tanzania. First, I would like to share with you about the global bamboo forest. The source is INBA. For example, there are 37 million hectares as reported in 31 countries and representing 3.2% of the reporting countries or 1% of the global forest. Asia, 16 countries, about 44 million hectares. Africa, 5 countries, about 2.8 million hectares. Latin America, 10 countries, about 10 million hectares. That is about a global perspective. So when I go direct to bamboo resource in Africa bamboo grows always naturally. For example, in Benin, Burundi, Cameroon, Eritrea, Ethiopia, Ghana, Liberia, Kenya, Malawi, Mozambique, Nigeria, Rwanda, Senegal, Sierra Leone, Tanzania, Togo, Uganda, Gabon, Comoro Island, and the other countries regarding to by Strokova and his scholars by 2004 reported about that. So the highest concentration is in Nigeria, Ethiopia, and Senegal, with about 89.6% of all bamboo population in Africa. However, Africa continent harbors only all bamboo population in Africa. However, the Africa continent harbors only 5 bamboo species that grows naturally in their range, namely Alpina, Africana, Opacinica, Boachuti, and Terestaco. So over 80% of African bamboo resources are in Ethiopia. However, on the contrary, Madagascar reported to be the richest country in Africa in terms of biodiversity of bamboo species. That resource is FAO 2001. According to Banik and Lau, 1995, the African bamboo region has only 3 genera: Orobas, Osnestera, and Arulinia, whereas Arulinia is the mainly found in the northern eastern part of Africa, especially from Kenya to Ethiopia. Osnestera abyssinica is distributed throughout tropical Africa, outside the humid forest zone from Senegal east to Eritrea and south to Angola, Mozambique, and northern South Africa. However, bamboo resources are found in Africa, particularly in countries such as South Sahara, and for decades, resources have been used by local communities for various reasons, for building, handicraft, furniture, and agriculture. For many decades, this bamboo resources has been found in Africa and has been used for that purpose. For example, in local communities, for building, handicraft, furniture, agriculture. So I want to introduce, after introducing bamboo, I want to introduce my country, where I'm based in, that is Tanzania. We are located in Eastern Africa, bordering the Indian Ocean between Kenya and Mozambique. Land area, we have a total about 1947 1,300 square meters, where land is 1885 and 1,100 meters, 800 square kilometers, and the water is 61,500 square kilometers. Note that Tanzania is a country which is a union of 2 countries, that is Tanzania mainland and the island of Zanzibar. So the population, according to the census of July 2018, we had a population of about 55 million people. And the population growth rate, according to that, is 2.74%, about to that, which is recorded on 2018. And our language that we use both Kiswahili as our national language, also in English as a communication language. Natural resources, we had hydropower, we have tin, we have phosphate, iron, ore, coal, diamond, gemstone, gold, natural gas, nickel. This climatically, we see that we vary from tropical along coast to temperate in highland. Our land use, especially for agriculture, is 43.7%. Arable land is 14.3%. Permanent crops is 2.3%. Permanent pasture is 27.1%. Forest is 37.3%. And the others is 19%. So irrigated land, we had about 1,840 square kilometers. So elevation, extreme, mean elevation, it's 1,018 meters. So lowest point from Indian Ocean, 0, up to the highest point. It means at the peak of the mountain Kilimanjaro, highest point of Africa is 5,895 meters. So the forest area is about 88,259 hectares, 1,000 hectares. Natural forest, about 48 million hectares, including bamboo, which is covering only 127,000 hectares, according to the Ministry of Natural Resources of Tanzania. Data of 2015 plantation, the total gross area of forest plantation in Tanzania is estimated to be about 250,000 hectares. So the land boundaries, total length is 4,161 kilometers. So I wanted you to know about our profile, of our Tanzania profile. So directly, I'm going specific to the bamboo resources in Tanzania. As I picked area that bamboo is growing naturally to the larger extent, and the most of bamboo species which are common here in Tanzania, which are growing naturally, are Oxnesela abyssinica, which we call blind, or sometimes we call wine bamboo, because this kind of bamboo is characterized by producing bamboo. When you cut a young shoot, you get which is fermented to become alcohol. There is Aerobus bochidi and Alulinia alpina. These are the common species which found in Africa. The coverage is 127,824 hectares, equivalent to 0.27% of the total forest land. So you see the distribution of the bamboo natural resource. I distributed in regions. For example, the Arusha regions, Mbeya regions, Iringa, Morogoro, Lindi, Kigoma, Coastal, Ruvuma, Tanga, and Kagera regions. That is according to Chihongo, and there are 2000 and data from the Ministry of Natural Resources of Tanzania of 2015. Areas occurred where bamboos occurred is areas of low altitude. There are bamboo in low altitude and some location in the mountains. So the bamboo occurs in low altitude and some location in the mountain, having a static stock approximate 200 million linear meters, according to Chiongo. Nevertheless, and Arundinaria alpina is recognized as African green mountains because this Arundinaria alpina are the most bamboo which are growing on higher land, especially on the altitude between 2,290 up to 360 meters. So here are the figure about the distribution of bamboo species according to the regions. For example, as I've already speak earlier there, Kigoma with percentage in Morogoro, Lindi, Mtwara. If you see these pictures, Iringa and Njombe, Mbeya, Katavi, this is distribution of bamboo species according to region. So regarding bamboo, we had a global challenge. As you know, that the global challenge are the challenges which are facing the whole world. For example, there are forest deforestation and degradation. This year, for example, 3 million hectares lost annually. There are deforestation and associated emission, 20%. Deforestation and degradation, implication to the world poor, billion people. Land degradation, half of agricultural land are degraded. So these are global challenge. For example, the reduction in productive capacity of land and ecosystem services. For example, food insecurity, falling yield, shifting crops, water insecurity, running dry, economic insecurity, sliding backward. These are challenges which associated with land degradation. Also, there is another challenge which you call biodiversity loss. There is also vulnerability and the adaptation to a climate change. This is threatening their livelihood, well-being, food, water, and energy security and resilience. Due to that global challenges, there are restoration target and initiative which has been advocated. For example, Bond Challenge, which says that restore 150 million hectares of the well-deforested and degraded land by 2020, which is that year. So we expect that up to this year, the land, about 150 million hectares will be restored. Also, there are New York Declaration on the Forest building on the Bond Challenge, about 350 million hectares of deforested land and degraded land under restoration by 2030. Also, there is another restoration target that is Africa Forest Landscape Restoration Initiative, AFRI 1,100 country-ready effort to bring 100 million hectares land restored by 2030. So bamboo resource in Tanzania in addressing this global challenge. So in general, bamboo resources in Tanzania are regarded as a natural endowment with various value attached to them by different local communities. For example, here in Tanzania, bamboo, in Tanzania particularly, bamboo has more than has used it for fuel wood and charcoal, handicraft, residential fencing, wine production, furniture making, packaging materials production. These are some use of bamboo resources here in Tanzania. As you know, globally, bamboo has more than 500 different uses. So I want to share with experience in Tanzania. For example, about bamboo for environmental management to reverse land. Here, what we do, we encourage community to do bamboo plantation, to establish bamboo nurseries for production of large planting. That initiative has been done to enable community to have large planting materials to plant at their homestead or farm boundaries, so that to fight against the environmental issues. So these are some pictures as you see that are local bamboo nurseries which are established by communities. Some are doing some propagation. You see some women here and some people are doing on nursery bed. So that's also enhance environmental security. So when you do that, you establish here we do by establishing model plantation on a degraded wasteland to demonstrate bamboo potential to enhance environmental security. So that when we do that, people can take, our communities, all farmers can take it at their own areas to do plantation, especially on river banks or areas which has been degraded. You see, we provide some awareness for people to use bamboo for restoring the land which has been lost. For example, there are some things that we have done here in Tanzania. For example, here you see that there are some training which we illustrate communities how to do, how bamboo can be used on land restoration. Here, community, the second picture, community are participating on planting bamboo on areas which has been degraded. You see the picture here. That there are big erosion, no vegetation cover. So in those areas, we encourage communities to reverse the land through bamboo planting. For example, we have done here through IMBA project, we have done some initiative in Tagano, Mwasanga. We protected water sensitive areas which aim to protect the source of water, so that to avoid dry of source of water for human use. As you know that if we don't protect water due to human activities, the impact is water disappearance. And when water is disappearance, there is a big damage to human and the livestock and the other life in the planet. So also because there is another global challenge about deforestation. So also we do an initiative to train communities how to plant bamboo in order to replace wood, because as you know that bamboo are fast growing materials. That's why you see that we promote household nurseries. Also bamboo as food and folder. So when bamboo is grown, can it be used as fuel, charcoal. For example, you see that we establish an enterprise which is doing bamboo charcoal, household energy and production. That is a model that we establish. That can be replicated anywhere. Can be replicated anywhere. Even in India can be replicated. That bamboo can be used as charcoal. So you produce the briquette. You see that here there are some enterprises we call Wodga, which I'm supervising now. We produce charcoal from bamboo. Not only that, because forest is being destroyed because of economic issue. So if economic issue is a problem, we decided to utilize that resource, bamboo resource, to make people livelihood. For example, here you see some women groups. They are making some basket. Here there are some pictures. Some groups of youth are making furniture from bamboo, and you see bamboo used for packaging. For example, these are mangoes, and you see there are some bamboo desks which has been made from bamboo. So this is a utilization of resource to make sure that bamboo provide livelihood to the people, especially people who are living in rural areas, who are suffering from unemployment. This this picture shows also that the treatment hub which we established here in Tanzania, so that to treat bamboo to be usable for a long time, to make sure that the product stay for long. For example, you see some people, the other pictures shows some training, other shows some furniture, someone shows the bamboo enterprise group which has been established. And there's a picture here below that shows the bamboo house which has been plastered by cement. And there are some training. You see, people have been training about bamboo. This all is to ensure that people make livelihood from bamboo resource. So there are sustainable development goals. That is a global. So by bamboo and the sustainable development goal. For example, there is one sustainable goal which say that no poverty. You have to create sustainable value chains using bamboo, employ almost, for example, in China, 10 million people employed there. There is another goal, number 7, bamboo as renewable green bamboo charcoal, cook stove, and biomass. Also bamboo for number 11, bamboo for the resilient, cheap, modern housing. 12, bamboo as a green alternative carbon intensive, non-renewable material. Climate action, bamboo as a carbon sink, and the key plant for restoring degraded land. It means challenge development goal number 15. So what we have done to address this goal in Tanzania. So you see, the goal of no poverty. There are some, you see a picture at the top on the left is one enterprise which established bamboo which is making bamboo handicraft here in Tanzania. Because this is a showroom, there are some products which has been made by this group. This is a group of women, especially a group of women who are single mothers, and it's women who has no job, women who have no jobs. So as these pictures depict the number of women who are doing this kind of job. So after making it, they sell at their workshop. This is for the purpose to create jobs for unemployed. So bamboo resources can be used to create jobs that we have practiced here and is working. People are getting income from bamboo. So we are addressing a sustainable development goals, no poverty. Another things, life on land in areas which is bare land. We planted bamboo to support life for land, for life for animals, life for bacteria, life for insects, life for human being. So you see that's some initiative that we have done here. Also about sustainable goal number 13, climate action. Here are some, as I told earlier, that bamboo is to the large extent is grown naturally in the forest. So you see these women are in forest, in some forest in Tanzania, where bamboo are growing. So we train them on sustainable harvesting. So if they harvest this sustainably, it means we make sure that this resources is not disappearing. So resources will be utilized. So when they cut, other kind of trees grown, other kind of trees grown. You see there are some on farmland. There are some, you see another picture on the left, on the right and on top. There is a farm, but within the farm, on the boundary of the farm, there is bamboo growing. This is to ensure that while doing farming, also environmental conservation is being done. So bamboo is used. You see some, so hope, that we hope we need to reach on this stage. Stage on the picture on the right side on below, right side below, that we want to reach on that stage on climate action to enable that carbon sinks by using bamboo. So what are the initiatives which has been taken to develop bamboo sector in Tanzania? For example, you see the government of Tanzania joined with IMBA in 1997 as a founding member. Because this is among of the initiatives which has been done by the government of Tanzania to make sure that bamboo is growing, to promote bamboo growing, especially in the areas where bamboo is naturally growing. And also is supporting to grow bamboo in farm areas, in homestead on degraded land. You see another initiative about how to promote bamboo is research on bamboo, which has been done. So many research, there are some research which has been done by Tanzania Forest Research Institute that we call TAFORI, and the other university, for example, Sokoine University of Agriculture, SUA. And there are some research has been done on livelihood, especially Institute of Accountants has done some research regarding livelihood development from bamboo, especially bamboo wine. And also in 2018, the government of Tanzania revised forest policy. Revised forest policy, because these are among of the initiatives which has been employed to make sure that bamboo is used, especially for the purpose, because it's the fast growing mature short tree within 5 to 7 years, considered to other kind of trees, and the carbon rapid biomass accumulation carbon dioxide sequestration for climate change mitigation. Also, there are efforts which have been done with the help of IMBA, for example, from late a strategic plan, a year, 5 years to develop bamboo resource and its use, especially focusing on industrialization. So we focus on making that sure that bamboo we are going to for the industrializing stage, because awareness stage is already done. Also, there are some government also supports private sector to the bamboo sector through Ministry of Natural Resource and Tourism. What my advice to you, maybe I say that bamboo, because also India is endowed with bamboo resources. So I think you can do what you can do there, maybe increase the awareness to community. Increase the awareness to community so that community can understand and utilize bamboo resources for livelihood and climate change mitigation. Also, because bamboo development needs also technology. Technology is very important to advance, to make sure that we produce durable product that can be sold at a good price worldwide market. Also, another thing is share knowledge and lessons learned from successful countries. So you can share, even you can share with us what we are facing and what challenge we are facing, and also we can share from you also, because we have South-South cooperation. South-South cooperation, India and Africa, there is South-South cooperation. We can exchange knowledge on bamboo to make sure that the bamboo industry is developed. Also to engage the private sector, because government itself cannot develop the industry itself. It has to involve the private sector and the vocational training for processing and value addition. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you for inviting. That's my experience sharing with you about bamboo here in Tanzania. Thank you. I'm through.
Thank you, Mr. Donald Kibasi. Thank you, Dr. Thank you, Mr. Donald Kibasi.
Thank you too.
Sir, actually, the paper that you have presented in your delivery in the session Gratifying the Globe, Ecological, Social, and Economical Sustainability Using Bamboo, a case study of Tanzania. It is very much similar, identical, and akin with our state, Tripura. Bamboo, you have discussed forest deforestation, degradation associated with greenhouse emission, land degradation, restoration target, New York Declaration on Forest, Africa Land Forest Landscape Restoration Initiative, and you have shared that bamboo has more than 1,500 different uses. Bamboo for environmental management, how it can be used for environmental management, like produce large-scale planting, enhance environmental security. You have also discussed bamboo farming system development, and one of the important aspects that bamboo biomass power enterprise model, can it be replicated to India? Well, we think, the organizers think that your lecture, your delivery, your experience in the context of study of Tanzania can well be replicated and learn and experiences in Tripura also. We have also discussed some livelihood issues started with the economic conditions of the people living in rural area. That is equally important in the context of Tripura also, sir, to your knowledge. Last but not the point of your discussion. It was the very interesting part of your discussion, sir. Bamboo and sustainable goals. How it can be aligned with the sustainable goals, like no poverty, like the sustainable goal of affordable and clean energy, life on land, climate action, etc., etc. Yes, all these are equally important and clearly experiences in our state. One of the important aspects you have deliberated in your discussion is that in Tanzania, you have formulated certain bamboo strategic plan. Bamboo strategic plan can well be formulated in Tripura also. Our government here is very much proactive in the development of the economic condition, industrial condition, and social condition of the people in our state.
Sure, sure.
At the end, I would like to conclude from your lecture that collaborative research works can be undertaken at different institute level. So it would be our future endeavor, sir, to make some collaboration agreement and research with your country to gain experiences from your Tanzania, East Africa experiences. Thank you very much, sir. Actually, we are a little bit late, but still, as we have the scope to discuss with you, which is a rare occasion in our case. There is one question from Bankim Debarma, Assistant Professor from our department, Department of Commerce. He has asked you, sir, bamboo is using for so many purposes in India also. Sir, I want to know how bamboo is using in wine production. He wants to know how bamboo is using in wine production and what kind of initiatives are taken for increasing bamboo production in Tanzania. That initiative, perhaps, most probably all the initiatives you have explained, but if you could elaborate something more, it would be better, sir. Over to you, sir.
Thank you for the good question that you have asked me. It is true that here in Tanzania we have bamboo which produce wine. It is different from a global perspective experience. We have this species we call Opnesella abyssinia. Yeah. This species Opnesella abyssinia is a species which produce bamboo here in Tanzania, especially it grows on areas of lowland. And because that kind of bamboo it helps many communities for livelihood development, especially the rural people. Most of families or households are planting at their homestead or along farm boundaries or along their farms. The purpose is only to tap wine, which is coming from the bamboo shoot. So what has been done? We know that during rainy season, bamboo starts to sprout out. So when bamboo starts to sprout out, the new shoot, which almost can be 1 week, when it comes from the ground, the farmer use knife to cut at the top areas, and then they connect it with a cup which is made also from bamboo, so that on the top of that cutted area, there is liquid dropping on that cup which has been inserted along that area. So you found that during the morning, you go to harvest bamboo wine. And during the evening also you go to harvest it. But on one day it was not a wine. It was a juice. It is not already fermented. But if stayed one day, that's why that juice, bamboo juice, started to ferment. That become a bamboo wine. So what the initiative has been done in order to make sure that this bamboo wine chain value is growing. There are some industries has been established along areas which bamboo wine is kept. For example, in highland zone of Tanzania, especially the region of Iringa, we have one industry which now established last year, which is taking bamboo juice from the farmers and then process it into bamboo wine, which is being sold to the market. Not only that industry, there are also families or households which process that bamboo juice into bamboo wine, which is they sell it into local bamboo local shops or local groceries for wine, our community wine. So initiative to develop it has been done, and also we are, for example, now as the government and the other partners help farmers to do sustainable management of bamboo farms, especially bamboo crop, to make sure that bamboo wine production is increasing. Because if you do good management, the quantity of bamboo wine also get increased. If you don't do proper management, especially pruning, cleaning the farm, and bamboo wine also production is not, it will not be good. So we train the farmers how to do proper bamboo farm management in order to increase production of bamboo wine. That's what we do here in Tanzania. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir.
Yes.
For explaining the details of process of making production of wine in your country.
Yeah.
There are lots of appreciation, and most of participants agreed. More particularly, Dr. Rathan Dev, an associate professor of a general degree college, he agreed that your presentation is really very useful and a relevant paper in the case of Northeast region. The state of Tripura belongs to the Northeast region, sir, and in general, and Tripura in particular. He is also opinion that your views regarding cluster-based production and industry are to be required. And we do also propose you, sir, in future that we may have certain collaboration with efforts and research with your country if it materializes. We offer that. Thank you very much, sir, for your nice presentation and very, very relevant and applicable in the case of Tripura. And we do expect that in future also we would hear from you and gain the experiences. But there is another question, if you allow me, sir. If you allow me, can I ask another question from our participant?
Ask.
Yeah. Another participant has really given an appreciation to you, sir. It's not a question. This is an appreciation of your lecture and delivery.
Thank you.
Dr. Sharad Nema gives his honor to you. Thank you very much, sir, for nice information on bamboo uses and its sustainability.
Thank you.
So almost all the participants are sharing their appreciation about your presentation and its replication in India. So we are very much glad.
Thank you.
And we offer our sincere thanks and gratitude to you for sharing your experiences and sparing your valuable time with us. Thank you, Mr. Donald Kibutisha. Hope
Thank
we'll
you.
meet again in some platform, maybe in a webinar or if possible after the COVID-19 seminar.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Well,
you
you are
very much,
welcome.
sir.
Yeah. Thank you.
We are towards the end of this first technical session, gratifying the globe. Now it's time to declare today's session as a concluding remarks of this whole deliberations. I request our organizing secretary to give his concluding remarks on today's deliberations and declare regarding the tomorrow's time schedule and other matters. Over to you, sir.
First of all, I wish to thank our second speaker from Tanzania, East Africa, Mr. Donald Kibuti, for presenting such a nice and practical oriented paper. Thank you, sir. I hope you will be with us in some interaction session tomorrow night if participants demand. Thank you all the participants for being with us for such a long time. Your active participation really delighted us and we are overwhelmed with your responses. The question answer session shows that our participants are very actively associated with us. In this technical session, we got two amazing speakers. One is Professor Andres Kessenberg from Poland, Europe, very advanced country, and another Mr. Donald Kibuti from Tanzania, a less developed country. Professor Kessenberg speaks about ecological balance, sustainable development, environment pollution, sustainable production, and consumption. As Mr. Donald Kibuti came up with a solution with a very sustainable natural resource that is bamboo, which have very much similarity in India, particularly in our state. And Mr. Kibuti also very nicely connected bamboo relationship of bamboo with the sustainable development goal, starting from production to consumption and economic development. How bamboo can be utilized in the economic development of a less developed country. So with this, we conclude today's session, and there is an announcement for tomorrow's session. Tomorrow, the technical session 2 will be associated with our participants at 11 a.m. After listening from resource person from Africa and Europe, tomorrow we will come to India with our resource person from various parts of the country. The theme of the tomorrow's technical session 2 will be linking the nation. In the first session, we have two eminent research persons, Professor Saikat Sinharan of Jadavpur University, Kolkata, West Bengal, and Professor Rajesh Konda, Director, Symbiosis Institute of Management, Bangalore. Then, in the third session, which is very much local in nature, and we have three resource persons, Professor Arun Saha, former Vice Chancellor of the Central University, Pawan Kaushik, Head FRCLE Tripura, and Dr. Selim Reza, Program Manager, INBAR, East Africa, Regional Office. So I hope our participants in the videos. We have another lively session tomorrow. Thank you all.